Chapter 826, Accident. Pure accident. 3. Miss Leng, according to you, can I understand that my subordinates can also protect their master if someone bullies me? Sun Xing said with a face full of calculations. Yes, that's necessary. If a subordinate can remain indifferent when he sees his master being bullied, then it's fine to not have such a subordinate, Leng Ruoxue agreed. Did you hear Miss Leng? Sun Xing glared at the elders in the room. Yes, the elders said in unison. However, they didn't understand what Sun Xing meant. Ah! Could it be that the patriarch wanted them to attack Leng Ruoxue? Thinking of this, they simultaneously glanced at Feng De and the others. However, when they saw the unfriendly expressions of Feng De and the others, their hearts couldn't help trembling. Boo-hoo! These barbarians! Does the Sun family head want them to beat me up? Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Cheng Wu, spar with these elders. You can't see them usually. Leng Ruoxue ordered Cheng Wu and the others directly without waiting for Sun Xing to answer. Okay, Mississippi. Cheng Wu smiled evilly and nodded. Then he went directly to an elder. You. Let's play. Cheng Wu pointed at the trembling old man in front of him. I don't want to play with you, the old man stammered. Boo-hoo. Why did this fellow look for him? He wanted to pretend to faint if he didn't consider his face. You have to play even if you don't want to. Cheng Wu roared. Then he grabbed the old man's collar and slapped the old man in front of Sun Sheng. After a few slaps, blood flowed out of the old man's mouth, and the teeth in his mouth fought to escape from his home. Boo-hoo. Barbarian. The old man's hair was disheveled as he cried incoherently. Barbarian? Hee. Today, I'll let you know what a barbarian is. Cheng Wu smiled viciously, but his hands moved even faster. Slap. 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 He slapped dozens of times consecutively. The unlucky old man had already been beaten dizzy and his face was swollen like a pig's head. However, no one dared to speak up for him, including Sun Sheng. Cheng Wu, find someone else. Leng Ruoxue kindly stopped the old man when she saw that he had fainted. However, her words made the other elders in the room gnash their teeth in hatred. Boo-hoo. Demon. Their Sun family had always been domineering. However, they only knew today that compared to Leng Ruoxue and the others, they couldn't even compare to their little fingers. As the saying goes, the cowardly are afraid of being unreasonable, the unreasonable are afraid of the strong, the hard are afraid of the suicidal. The Sun family was a classic example of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Moreover, their ancestors had a better foundation, so the Sun family was really used to being arrogant. In addition, the status of the three great super families of the Sun family had always been irreplaceable. Therefore, they had always felt good about themselves. But now, they had encountered Leng Ruoxue, who was fearless, so it was naturally a tragedy. However, what caused them to be even more depressed was that the group of people under Leng Ruoxue didn't care about any rules when fighting, nor did they use any techniques. It was purely physical attacks, and this caused them who were used to using techniques to really want to cry. Because they didn't give them the chance to utilize techniques at all. In terms of fists, they were nothing. In short, they were destined to be unlucky to meet Leng Ruoxue. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Cheng Wu released the elder that he had been holding in his hand. Then he turned his gaze to the other elders and even Sun Sheng. However, all the elders who were swept by his sinister gaze wished that there was a hole in the ground for them to burrow into. The elders who were about to be noticed by him were also trying their best to reduce their presence, afraid that they would become the next unlucky person. It's you. Looking at your shifty eyes, you're definitely not a good person. Cheng Wu searched for a moment and found another old man. Boo-hoo. You can't judge a book by its cover. I'm very good. I'm a good person. The old man cried until his nose was snotty and tears were flowing down his face. He was just short of kneeling down and begging for mercy. Well. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but he was held in Cheng Wu's hand and couldn't move at all. Good person. Is there a good person in the Sun family? The Sun family has always bullied men and bullied women. This is known by everyone in the boundless heaven continent. Furthermore, this old man judged people by their appearance. What? Bite me. Cheng Wu roared loudly. Then, he punched the old man unceremoniously. Ah! The old man covered his eyes and cried out in pain. Scream. I'll let you scream. Cheng Wu punched again. Ah! The old man sustained black eyes. I'll let you scream. Cheng Wu's fist brought with it a strong wind as it punched directly at the old man's mouth. Woo! The old man couldn't shout anymore. Blood flowed out of his mouth, and his teeth fell one after another. Big brother Cheng, take a break. Let me play for a while. Song Di said with itching hands. Okay. Cheng Wu handed the old man in his hand to Song Di and then retreated to the side to be an audience. However, his gloomy and bloodthirsty eyes were like a venomous snake as he stared at the other elders in the room, causing their bodies to turn cold with fear. Old man, don't be afraid. I've always respected the old and loved the young. Song Di looked at the trembling Sun family elder in his hand and hurriedly comforted him. Woo! The old man's eyes were filled with tears as he shook his head anxiously. If he could say the complete sentence, he would definitely say, only a ghost would believe you. Brother Song, you can try the 10 new tortures we developed. Feng De reminded. That makes sense. Song Di nodded. Then, he took out a small saber that was shaped like a willow leaf and as thin as a cicada's wing from his ring. Even though the saber was small, the saber tip emitted a terrifying cold aura. One look at the saber and one could tell that it was extraordinary. Old man. This is the first time I'm using this saber. Don't blame me if my strength is uneven. Song Di said with some hesitation. Then, he held a bright knife and started gesturing on the old man's body. However, before he could really do it, the old man was so scared that he peed his pants. Chapter 827, Accident. Pure accident. 4, damn. You're so old, why are you still wetting your pants? Song Di threw the old man in his hand away with a face full of disdain and then covered his nose to hide far away. However, his gaze landed on the other Sun family elder. Well. This old man was considered an acquaintance of theirs because this person was none other than the 6th elder who brought them to the Sun family. The 6th elder, who was hiding in the middle of the elders and didn't want to be too obvious, trembled like a leaf in the wind after sensing Song Di's gaze. Boo-hoo. Why were they looking at him? Don't look at him. He kept praying in his heart. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't hear his thoughts. Soon, 6th elder was dragged out like a chicken by Song Di. Song Di, don't be like this. We can be considered acquaintances, right? 6th elder tried to worm his way in. Yes, 6th elder is right. I just want to repay the 6th elder for taking care of us on the way, so don't be afraid. Song Di comforted before flashing the dagger in his hand. No. There's no need to repay me. Really, the 6th elder said with a long face. Boo-hoo. What kind of people were these? How could they repay others like this? No, Miss often warns us to repay favors. Moreover, I also want the other elders to know that we will definitely be on the same side. We won't be biased even if 6th elder is someone we know. Song Di was very upright and stubborn. Oh. The 6th elder's old tears were about to fall. He couldn't express anything more. 6th elder, don't be agitated. My young miss is most principled, Song Di said with a naughty smile. Then, a cold light flashed in his hand. Swish. 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 The small saber of the willow leaf kept swimming on the 6th elder's body, shining with cold light. In just a few minutes, the sixth elder's clothes had become strips that hung loosely on his body, and he was in danger of falling at any time. However, Songdi's technique was good, so he absolutely didn't injure the sixth elder's skin and flesh. However, it had already caused a huge effect on the sixth elder's heart because the sixth elder was already a little dumbfounded. Other than standing there in a daze, he didn't react at all. Sixth elder. Songdi shouted into sixth elder's ear. The sixth elder didn't react. Sixth elder. Songdi roared again. The sixth elder still didn't react. Seeing this, Songdi lost his patience. He threw the sixth elder on the ground and casually pulled an elder over to continue practicing his saber techniques. Ah! 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 With a cold flash, the Sun family elder, who was used as a practice tool, screamed like a pig being slaughtered, making everyone's eardrums hurt. Shut up. I'll chop you up if you continue calling me that. Songdi roared angrily. Boo-hoo. Ah. The Sun family elder was very aggrieved. He wanted to cry but didn't dare to, and he didn't dare to shout even more. The only feeling he had was that the cold dagger kept swimming on his body and left countless small wounds. Boo-hoo. With the sixth elder's previous lesson, he was actually mentally prepared. However, just as he thought that he would be like the sixth elder, his clothes were not the only thing that was cut open, but his flesh was also cut. I said that I'm a newbie and will weigh the pros and cons, can't you bear with it? Songdi accused with dissatisfaction, his face full of contempt for the elder. It hurts. That elder said softly with tears in his eyes. Just bear with it. Don't affect my mood. Otherwise, it won't be just a superficial wound, Songdi threatened. Oh. That elder bit his lower lip with tears in his eyes. His face was full of grievance, but he didn't dare to make a sound. That's good. Songdi was very satisfied with this Sun family elder's cooperation. Swish. 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 The saber tip danced up and down, and the expression on Songdi's face became more and more joyful. After a while, Songdi finally had enough. He threw the old man on the ground and clapped his hands before sitting back down. You are too much. Sun Sheng, who was lying on the bed, was so angry that his body was trembling. He pointed at Leng Ruoxue and the others for a while before saying this. Patriarch Sun, you should recuperate in peace. During your recuperation, I will watch over these elders for you. I guarantee that they won't have the intention of usurping the throne, Leng Ruoxue promised seriously. Sun Sheng's chest was extremely stuffy. At the same time, he felt a metallic taste rush up his throat. However, he forcefully suppressed it. Humph. He couldn't let his breath slip in front of a little girl. Patriarch Sun, don't vomit blood. You have to take care of your body. I'll look after these elders for you first. Well. You don't have to thank me. If you want to be grateful, just pay a little, Leng Ruoxue said angrily, the words "I'm doing this for your own good" still written on her face. Fengde, bring these elders back to the snow garden and take good care of them. Let them out after Patriarch Sun recovers. Leng Ruoxue didn't give Sun Sheng a chance to speak and instructed Fengde and the others. Yes, Fengde and the others answered hurriedly. Then they left the eldest madam's room arrogantly with the elders with long faces. Patriarch Sun, I'll take my leave too. I'll visit you when I have time. Leng Ruoxue said to herself and then pulled the freak away. Pfft. After Leng Ruoxue and the others left, Sun Sheng couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Patriarch. The eldest madam, who had been standing beside him, wiped the blood off Sun Sheng's lips with a handkerchief. Alas! She really didn't know how to comfort her husband because Leng Ruoxue's actions made her a little afraid. She had lived for decades but had never seen a woman with such a terrifying aura. Even the mistress of the Leng family, Leng Shuang, couldn't compare to Leng Ruoxue. What should she do? It was absolutely impossible to deal with Leng Ruoxue with the current people of the Sun family. Madam, bring me to the secret room. Sun Xingqiang forced himself to stand up. No, he couldn't wait anymore. If this continued, the Sun family would be implicated by Leng Ruoxue, so he had to ask when that person would return. Chapter 828, Accident. Pure accident. 5. Patriarch, look at you now. The eldest madam was a little worried. Alas! The patriarch wasn't very ill at first, but he was angry again. Bring me there. Sun Xing roared impatiently. All right. The eldest madam had no choice but to help Sun Xing out of the room and into the secret room of the Sun family. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others had already returned to the snow garden with the elders of the Sun family. Miss, where should we place them? Fengde said disdainfully as he looked at the Sun family elders who were dejected. Tie it up and leave it in the yard, Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. How dare you? Leng Ruoxue, we are the elders of the Sun family. The originally listless elder immediately jumped 3 times and roared as if he was on steroids when he heard that he was going to be tied up and thrown in the yard. Yes, I know. The person tied up is an elder of the Sun family, Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Humph. If you weren't elders, I wouldn't have attacked you. Leng Ruoxue, this is the Sun family. Do you want to die? Another elder threatened. What's wrong with the Sun family? Now that your patriarch is sick, of course I have to share the burden of the Sun family's patriarch. This has the tacit consent of your patriarch. Leng Ruoxue said shamelessly. When the elders heard Leng Ruoxue's words, they were so angry. It was obviously the patriarch who was so angry that he couldn't say anything, but you actually tacitly agreed. Until this moment, they had to admit that Leng Ruoxue's skin was thicker than theirs. And Leng Ruoxue's subordinates were also more violent and domineering than them. Boo-hoo, they admitted defeat. Miss Leng, the patriarch is sick, and the young master doesn't care about anything. The Sun family is indeed leaderless now. Why don't we do this? Well, listen to you for the time being. We promise not to say anything no matter what you ask us to do. Do you think this is okay? A short old man's eyes kept rolling around, and he discussed with a plan. Boo-hoo. Let's stabilize this girl first. Otherwise, they would really be tortured to death by her. Second elder, how can you make such a decision? An anxious elder said with dissatisfaction as soon as that old man finished speaking. Why can't I decide like this? I'm the second elder of the Elder Association. You have to listen to me, the second elder roared. Miss Leng, is this okay? Second elder turned to look at Leng Ruoxue and asked. Old man, you're quite sensible. However, what I want to tell you is that you can't. Your Sun family is too evil. You're scheming and cunning, so I have to be wary. Leng Ruoxue refused. Miss Leng. The second elder was helpless. Boo-hoo. He admitted that the reputation of the Sun family was not good, but in terms of scheming and cunning, who could compare to this little girl in front of him? Otherwise, why would these old men, who were several hundred years old, be here? Old man, you talk too much nonsense. Stop annoying my young miss, Lu Tao said with a face full of displeasure. She took out a cloth from somewhere and blocked the second elder's mouth. Boo-hoo. The strange smell emitted by the cloth made the second elder almost faint. However, his arms were controlled by Cheng Wu, and he could not resist at all. Lu Tao, where did you get this cloth? It stinks, Cheng Wu said, suppressing his anger. Hee hee. That's for my beast to wipe its butt, Lu Tao explained with a naughty smile. You're amazing. Cheng Wu was convinced. Everyone, quickly grab a rope and tie them up. It's getting late, we should rest. Leng Ruoxue urged speechlessly. Alas! Her subordinates were getting worse. However, she didn't admit that she had learned all this from her. She was a good child. After hearing Leng Ruox's words, everyone immediately took out the ropes that they had prepared beforehand and tied the unlucky elders into dumplings. Then, they piled them in the middle of the yard. However, Leng Ruoxue was afraid that they would run away or be saved, so after some thought, she moved her food out of the bracelet. After doing all this, Leng Ruoxue brought the freak back to her room with ease. Feng De and the others left after warning the elders. In the yard, the elders of the Sun family looked at the cold eyes staring at them covetously and felt like dying. Don't be afraid. I won't eat you. Your meat is too stinky. I don't like it, the black python comforted with disdain in its eyes. This is the Sun family. The ancestors of the Sun family won't let you go if you treat us like this. Some people still threaten fearlessly after thinking of their identities. Then let them do it. The black python narrowed its eyes and said calmly. Hee hee. Miss was waiting for the bullshit ancestor of the Sun family. Otherwise, would she have let you live until now? Aren't you afraid? That person said in disbelief. He actually didn't scare them. How was this possible? At this moment, he really didn't know if Leng Ruoxue and the others or the beasts were too bold, or if they were really that strong. He was confused. You idiot, does a beast know what fear is? An elder reprimanded. Beasts? You're the beasts. Your entire family are beasts. The black python was immediately furious when it heard that it had been called a beast. Damn it, Miss frequently told them that the beast rights of beasts required respect. If anyone dared to disrespect them, they had to pay the price, so the elder was in tragedy. The black python's huge snake tail instantly wrapped around the elder who had scolded it and then kept swinging in the air. Immediately, a black ray of light emitted a different luster in the pitch-black night sky. At the same time, it was accompanied by someone's scream that echoed in the night sky. After a long time, the black python was tired and threw the elder down from the sky. With a bang, the fainted elder of the Sun family fell to the ground. Bang! Immediately after, another loud bang sounded. The black python's snake tail smashed down from the sky. Moreover, luckily, it coincidentally smashed onto the unlucky elder. In an instant, the Sun family elder who was pressed under the thick snake became a pile of mud, dead. Chapter 829, Accident. Pure accident, 6, hee hee. An accident. It was purely an accident. The black python said in embarrassment. However, its expression did not show any embarrassment. You actually killed an elder of our Sun family. The elders couldn't remain calm seeing an elder of the Sun family die. Boo-hoo. They had always thought that these people would at most beat them up, but they didn't expect that they really dared to kill them. Moreover, it was a beast that killed them. Immediately, the fear in the hearts of the elders rose to an unprecedented height. Don't you understand human language? I told you this was an accident, the black python said fiercely with its eyes wide open. You're not human, okay? All the elders were nervous, but no one dared to say it. They just kept shaking their heads in fear. I'll control myself to avoid such accidents as long as you're obedient, the black python said in a benevolent manner. Yes, yes. All the elders nodded their heads vigorously, afraid that this big snake would cause an accident to happen to them. Boo-hoo. Even a mystic supremacy couldn't stand such an accident, right? After killing the chicken to warn the monkeys, the night finally passed under the trembling gazes of the elders and the pythons. In the morning, when Leng Ruoxue and the others walked out of the room in high spirits, they saw the pythons happily flirting with them. The elders who were tied up like dumplings were even more listless than yesterday. All of them were like frosted eggplants. Oh. What's wrong with you guys? There seems to be someone missing. Could it be that you guys ran away? Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with suspicion as she asked in puzzlement. Miss, don't worry. They can't run, Feng De promised very confidently. But there's someone missing. Leng Ruoxue pretended to be puzzled and turned her gaze to the black python. Miss, a very unfortunate accident happened last night. The black python had tears in its eyes and looked very guilty. Then, it reported what happened last night to Leng Ruoxue and the others with tears in its eyes. Oh, since it was an accident, you don't have to blame yourself. After all, no one wanted this to happen, Leng Ruoxue comforted nonchalantly, but she was already laughing in her heart. Yes, I won't take it to heart. There are accidents from time to time, and there are especially many this year. How can a small snake like me care about natural disasters? The black python was much calmer after receiving Leng Ruoxue's comfort. The hearts of the elders of the Sun family trembled when they heard the conversation between Leng Ruoxue and the black python. Boo-hoo. This was the highest realm of shamelessness. This was called "There's always someone better out there." Compared to this pair of masters and beasts, they felt inferior. Boo-hoo. Fengde, the elders of the Sun family didn't seem to be here yesterday. Go and look for them, Leng Ruoxue instructed as if she suddenly remembered. Yes, Fengde answered and then led his men to search for the elders of the Sun family who were spared. However, after searching for nearly an hour in the Sun family's main residence, they did not find any traces of the other elders. This was mainly because after some of the elders were taken away by Leng Ruoxue last night, the other elders who heard the news took advantage of the night and ran away. Miss, we didn't find any traces of the other elders. After Fengde returned with nothing, he reported to Leng Ruoxue gloomily. Oh. They should have left the main residence. It's okay, this is for you. Leng Ruoxue calmly took out a piece of paper from her bracelet and handed it to Fengde. Fengde opened the paper and took a look. Then, he said very happily, Miss, don't worry. I promised to complete the mission. The elders who escaped can run, but they can't run. I will definitely bring them back. Okay. Leng Ruoxue nodded with satisfaction. Then she turned her gaze to the elders piled up in the yard and said, Alas. Those elders actually ran away. They're really too disloyal. However, don't worry, I'll capture them for you. I'll also punish them for you. Ah. All the elders present became even more listless when they heard that. In fact, they had discussed it beforehand why those elders were not around. After all, Leng Ruoxue was really too terrifying. They were all afraid that something would happen to them. Therefore, they had already discussed it before protecting the patriarch. If anything happened to them, they would get the other elders who were lucky to leave the Sun family immediately to look for the ancestors. Boo-hoo. The place where the ancestors were in seclusion was some distance away from the Sun family's main residence. Leng Ruoxue looked at their reactions and was about to overturn with laughter in her heart. Ha! These old men were dreaming. Why did they only remember to look for their parents now? 2 hours later. Fengde returned with his team, and the elders who had fled were basically captured by them. Miss, we captured a total of 31 elders. One ran away. It was all my fault. Miss, please punish me. Fengde said very self-reproachfully. Forget it, humans make mistakes, horses make mistakes. I won't blame you. Leng Ruoxue was very magnanimous. Then, she couldn't help but ask, where did the elder who ran away go? That old man went to the north of Sunzhou City. I really don't know what's there. Where did these old men originally want to go? Fengde said with a puzzled expression, his handsome face full of question marks. Oh. He probably ran in a daze. Ignore him, Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Because the two of them spoke in front of the elders of the Sun family present, all the elders of the Sun family were self-satisfied when they heard this. How could outsiders know what the North was? The North was the place where the ancestors of the Sun family cultivated in seclusion. Alas! If it wasn't for the urgent situation this time, they really didn't want to disturb those ancestors. After all, those ancestors concerned the future of the Sun family. They couldn't lose it. Yes, Mississippi, I'll go prepare lunch. Fongda nodded and started a fire in the corner of the yard. Not long after, the fragrance of grilled meat drifted into everyone's noses, especially the elders of the Sun family who had been hungry for the entire morning. When they smelled this fragrance, they felt even more hungry and almost drooled. However, Fongda and the others obviously didn't prepare the food of the elders of the Sun family. Moreover, they directly started eating in the yard after they were done. Chapter 830, Flame Dragon Storm, 1, Leng Ruoshua, you can't abuse us. An elder mustered his courage and said after swallowing his saliva. This person was one of the elders who ran away, so he was still unaware that an accident happened last night. A certain elder of the Sun family was already dead. What? Didn't the servants of the Sun family send you food? Alas! These servants are really too much. They actually dare to starve you. Fongda, after eating later, tell the servants of the Sun family to send some food to their elders. Otherwise, I won't be responsible if these old men are starved to death, Leng Ruoshua ordered indignantly. Miss, don't worry. It won't be easy to find someone from the Sun family now, but I'll do my best to find him. Fongda promised. Okay. Leng Ruoshua was still relieved that Fongda was handling the matter. Fongda kept his word. After lunch, he instructed his brothers to look for the servants of the Sun family separately. However, they searched for the entire afternoon, causing the elders of the Sun family to be so hungry that their chests were about to touch their backs. In the evening, Fongda and the others returned to the snow garden on time. Well, they were back for dinner. Miss, we searched for an entire afternoon, but we didn't go to eldest Madam Sun's yard. We searched the other courtyards of the Sun family, but we didn't see any servants except for a few who don't know how to cook. Fongda reported the results of the afternoon's search to Leng Ruoshua. It's okay. It's better than nothing. Ah. Let them get some food for these elders of the Sun family. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain it to Sun Sheng if I starve these old men to death. Leng Ruoshua didn't want to bear the responsibility of starving the elders of the Sun family. Hee. Miss, I've already instructed them. Fongda said with a I'm smart expression. Yes, well done. It's time for dinner, Leng Ruoshua said with a smile. Miss, I'll get dinner. Fongda was very diligent. After speaking, he ran to the other people who were starting the fire and helped them. After Fongda and the others prepared dinner, the servants of the Sun family also sent their half-cooked food to the snow garden trembling. Feed them. Fongda hurriedly said when he saw those servants wanting to slip away after putting down their things. Yes. The Sun family servant wanted to cry but had no tears. They were just small fries. Please don't make things difficult for them. A few servants prayed in their hearts. Then, they picked up a soup spoon and stuffed the food into the mouth of the elder they were feeding. As for why they used stuffing, well, it was mainly because those elders were too picky. They thought that the food they made was not delicious, so they vomited everything after taking a bite. The violent man also ordered them to let the elders eat it. Otherwise, if the elders starved to death, they would be the first to not let them go. Boo-hoo. Just like that, Fongda and the others sat in the yard, eating and watching the commotion. As for those unlucky elders, they could only smell the fragrance of the grilled meat and eat the food that was difficult to swallow while vomiting. Oh! That scene was simply indescribable. The first day of imprisonment of the elders of the Sun family was finally over. Late at night, Leng Ruoshua and the others returned to their rooms to rest before handing them to the pythons. Hee. Everyone, we meet again. I hope nothing bad will happen tonight, the black python prayed. Unfortunately, its words didn't receive any response because some cowardly elders had already lost their focus and their minds went blank in just a day. I missed you very much. This morning, after it reported to its young miss, her young miss had stored it in the space, so it could be said that it had not seen these people for a day. However, it knew what these elders had experienced. Moreover, it had been laughing secretly for a day. Still no one answered it. Don't you miss me? The black python narrowed its eyes and its thick snake tail kept sweeping around the elders. Still no one answered it. However, the black python didn't care anymore. Instead, it continued to chat among itself. A giant python kept muttering in their ears, making some elders almost go crazy. However, they dared not say anything despite being angry. Boo-hoo. They only hoped that the ancestors could quickly come and save them from danger. 3 days later. Leng Ruoxue sat on a stone bench in the yard and looked at the elders of the Sun family who had been tortured by them. She was in an extremely happy mood. However, what made her unhappy was that the so-called ancestors of the Sun family had not arrived yet. Sigh. Speaking of which, Fengde was to be blamed for this. He could have let anyone go on purpose, but he just had to let a road idiot go. Moreover, according to Qingju, that elder Lu Qi was still looking for the entrance to the Sun family's cultivation ground. Sigh, so worrisome. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh. Shuer, why are you sighing? Empty, who was sitting opposite Leng Ruoxue, asked in a good mood. That fool actually hasn't found a place yet. Leng Ruoxue said speechlessly. Ha! Empty laughed happily. He felt that this was quite good. Looking at the miserable appearance of the elders of the Sun family in the yard, he was in a very happy mood. In fact, Shuer and the others had really not abused, beaten, or scolded these elders these few days. Well, they were just letting them eat the food made by their servants. However, he felt that this was more interesting than beating those elders up. Hee hee. These elders vomited whenever they saw food now, almost going extinct. Shuer, don't be anxious. They will come. However, if they come a few days later, they will probably have to collect the corpses of these elders. Ah! The Sun family's elders are all starved to death. It will definitely shake the entire vast heaven continent, the freak consoled with a mischievous smile. Okay. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Sun Sheng hadn't done anything these few days, as if he was waiting for something. Another 2 days passed. Leng Ruoxue and the others heard a deafening roar just after lunch. They were finally here. Leng Ruoxue and the others were overjoyed. Hee hee. They had been waiting several days for this moment. Chapter 831, Flame Dragon Storm, 2, Swish. 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 Immediately after, several figures appeared in the snow garden. How dare you cause trouble in my Sun family? You're really tired of living, the leader roared loudly, his eyes emitting a ruthless gaze. The person in the lead was about 2 meters tall. He was a very strong and burly man. He looked ordinary, but he had a strong aura. One look and one could tell that he had been in the upper echelons for a long time. We didn't cause trouble. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of innocence. Hee hee. The people who came were quite strong. Although they were all mystic supremacies, their strength was obviously above the elders of the Sun family. However, she was still a little dissatisfied. There were too few of them and not enough to split. They didn't cause trouble. Then what are they? The burly man narrowed his eyes and pointed at the elders of the Sun family who were tied up in the yard and were starving to death. Them. It's like this. Isn't the acting patriarch of the Sun family sick? I was afraid they would take the opportunity to cause trouble, so I watched them for Sun Sheng. I'll naturally let them go when Sun Sheng's illness is cured, Leng Ruoxue explained with a light smile. Humph. This is a matter of our Sun family. There's no need for an outsider like you to interfere, the burly man said ungratefully, but he was thinking in his heart. This little girl was really too good at quibbling. She didn't seem to be easy to deal with. Alas. He really didn't take these people seriously before he saw them, but now, he had a headache. Didn't the Sun family say that I would marry into the Sun family? Then I shouldn't be an outsider. Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Is that so? The burly man looked at the Sun family elder beside him and asked lightly. Old ancestor, I'm not very sure about this. Elder Lu Qi wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said carefully. Oh. Leng Ruoxue, right? Regardless of whether this is true, let go of these elders from the Sun family first. Everything else can be discussed, the burly man said after some thought. He didn't care about the family affairs for almost 1,000 years, and the elder who brought them here was a fool, so for a moment, he really couldn't tell if Leng Ruoxue's words were true. However, he also knew that the most important thing was to get those elders out of Leng Ruoxue's hands. As for Leng Ruoxue and the others, as long as they didn't have the hostages of the Sun family in their hands, they would be at his mercy whether to kill or torture them. Unfortunately, how could Leng Ruoxue do as he wished? A light smile hung on Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face. Then she asked very innocently, what else are you talking about? Ah. The burly man didn't expect Leng Ruoxue to ask such a question. He was stunned before coaxing, we won't pursue this matter as long as you let the elders of the Sun family go. Oh. But we don't have anything worth you pursuing. However, I won't refuse if you want to pay us. However, I heard that the Sun family's credibility is poor, so I definitely won't believe you. Leng Ruoxue pretended to be conflicted. Damn it, are you going to let him go or not? The burly man was angry and impatient. No, Leng Ruoxue said softly. Damn girl, you're courting death. The burly man was angry. The consequences were serious. Roar. The robust man roared, and then he directly released a fiery red profound technique in Leng Ruoxue's direction. The gorgeous fiery red drew a beautiful arc and flew towards Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue gently waved her hand, and a light blue water curtain blocked in front of her. The water curtain was so thin that it was almost transparent, looking like it would break at a touch. After that, Leng Ruoxue looked at the burly man not far away with a relaxed expression, her beautiful eyes filled with provocation. When Feng De and the others saw the other party attack, they directly pounced on the person brought by the burly man. At the same time, the burly man's fire attribute profound technique had already arrived in front of Leng Ruoxue. However, it didn't pass through the thin water curtain and was instead successfully swallowed by the water curtain and transformed into a part of itself. How is this possible? The burly man couldn't believe his eyes. He had always been very confident in his mystic techniques, and his mystic energy was the rare fire attribute of the Sun family, so his attack power could be ranked in the top 10 in the entire Sun family. However, who knew that his mystic energy was actually devoured and absorbed by the water curtain? Even though he did not use his full strength just now, it was enough to anger him. After seeing this situation, he couldn't help but take Leng Ruoxue seriously. Well. It seemed this little girl not only had a face, but also had some skills in terms of strength. Unfortunately, meeting him destined this little girl's bad luck. Because even though he was in disbelief, he only felt that Leng Ruoxue's water curtain swallowing and absorbing his profound energy should have been purely an accident. Moreover, even though he valued it, it was naturally impossible for him to be frightened by a little girl. The world is huge, and there are all sorts of strange things. Nothing is impossible. Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. After that, she released the water element profound technique, meteor rain. In an instant, tens of thousands of raindrops flew towards the robust man. The burly man couldn't help widening his eyes at the spectacular scene in front of him. Damn it, was this a meteor shower? Why were there so many? Even though he was a mystic cultivator with the fire attribute mainly, he was also familiar with his baneful mystic technique. Therefore, he was very clear about this mystic technique, meteor rain. In his memory, meteor rain should only be an advanced mystic technique, and it couldn't even reach the earth grade. However, this meteor rain in front of him was countless times stronger than the meteor rain in his memory. Is this a meteor shower? The burly man couldn't help asking after a yellow curtain wall appeared in front of him. Yes and no. Leng Ruoxue smiled cunningly. Damn it, you tricked me. The burly man was even angrier when he heard Leng Ruoxia's answer. I'm telling the truth. By the way, I'll remind you to be careful. This earthen wall isn't very sturdy. Don't blame me if it's washed down by the water. Leng Ruoxia reminded kindly. Just as she finished speaking, tens of thousands of pearl-sized raindrops had already flown in front of the burly man. Chapter 832, Flame Dragon Storm, 3. However, the burly man was obviously very confident in his defense wall, so he didn't take Leng Ruoxia's warning to heart at all. However, he immediately widened his eyes in disbelief, and a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Immediately after, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and the earth elemental wall he set was really destroyed by the water, as Leng Ruoxia said. Am I right? I'm a good child and won't lie. Why don't you believe me? Leng Ruoxia said helplessly. Then she added in her heart that she wasn't lying to anyone. The burly man was furious and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. However, his eyes were still staring at Leng Ruoxia, wishing he could see through her. Damn, what kind of monster was this? He looked like a mere great mystic, but he actually made a mystic supremacy so disheveled. Well. In fact, he didn't think he had lost. He felt that he was just careless and underestimated Leng Ruoxia's strength. He believed that Leng Ruoxia's strength was definitely not what it looked like on the surface. According to his guess, these people should have hidden their strength because he could already see the other brothers he brought from the corner of his eye. They were even more miserable than him. After all, he only had Leng Ruoxia as his opponent, but there were several people surrounding his other brothers. Moreover, what was more infuriating was that those people were obviously playing with them like monkeys. Leng Ruoxia, you have so many subordinates attacking my brother alone. It was an unfair victory, the burly man asked after calming down and wiping the blood off his lips. Ha! Who can you blame? It's mainly because you brought too few people, and they didn't have enough. However, I advise you to take care of yourself first. Right, can you still use mystic techniques? Leng Ruoxia asked with a naughty smile. Of course you can. Let's continue. The burly man suppressed the anger in his heart and roared. Yes, yes. Look at how kind I am. I didn't take advantage of her. Good children like me are rare nowadays. Leng Ruoxia said angrily. Damn it, shut up, the burly man roared. He didn't want to hear Leng Ruoxia speak now. Kind. In his opinion, Leng Ruoxia obviously wanted to see him make a fool of himself and didn't take advantage of him. If Leng Ruoxia was really kind, would she dare to imprison an elder of their Sun family? Actually, he was wrong. Leng Ruoxia didn't want to see him make a fool of himself. Leng Ruoxia was afraid that he would die too quickly and that she would lose the chance to practice for nothing. How embarrassing would it be if I just shut up if you ask me to shut up? Leng Ruoxia disagreed. Ah! The burly man felt that he was about to go crazy from Leng Ruoxia's anger, and he directly released the mystic technique in his hand towards Leng Ruoxia. Immediately, in the air, countless fiery red and dazzling mystic energy drew several beautiful arcs and flew towards Leng Ruoxia. However, halfway through, the thin threads of mystic energy miraculously gathered together, forming a fire dragon that was as thick as an adult's arm. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced at Leng Ruoxia. This mystic technique isn't bad. Leng Ruoxia praised. However, she was still calm and composed. Moreover, she was very confident in her water curtain. After all, she had improved this water curtain. Otherwise, it would be simply a fantasy if she wanted to resist the attack of a mystic supremacy with just this water curtain that was at the intermediate level of a mystic technique. The moment Leng Ruoxia spoke, the dazzling fire dragon that emitted a red light had already collided with the water curtain. However, the result was shocking. Because the water curtain didn't break at all, and there weren't even any ripples. The fire dragon formed by mystic energy was stunned as if it had intelligence. Then, it launched another fierce collision. If that fire dragon could speak, it would definitely say that this dragon was a heaven-rank technique. How could a tiny water curtain possibly block me? On the other hand, if the water curtain could speak, then it would definitely tell the slightly cocky fire dragon that there was nothing special about a heaven-rank technique. The mutated water curtain that Master had modified. Want to break through me? You won't die from exhaustion. After one attack after another, faint water patterns finally appeared on the water curtain. However, it was still intact. The aura of the fire dragon formed by mystic energy became weaker and weaker, obviously exhausted. Not only that, the owner who used it was also panting heavily and covered in sweat. After all, mystic energy was controlled by the owner, and the reason why a heaven-rank technique looked so spiritual was because it contained a trace of the owner's divine sense. The burly man became even more anxious when he saw that he failed to break through the water curtain after working hard for half a day. His lack of composure also destined him to fail. However, Len Ruoshua didn't plan to let her opponent die too early. Otherwise, she wouldn't have only defended but not fought back seriously. Looking at Len Ruoxua's calm and relaxed expression, the burly man became more and more annoyed. Therefore, after stopping for a few seconds, he started attacking again. The burly man controlled the fire dragon and kept attacking from all angles as if it was crazy. The water curtain was also extremely cooperative. Wherever you hit, I would shake. It looked like it was about to break through, but it just couldn't break through. Half an hour later, the burly man's already frustrated heart became more and more impatient. Especially when he saw Len Ruoxua's relaxed expression, the anger in his heart intensified. Damn, what was going on? He could be considered a seasoned veteran, but he had overturned the boat with a little girl. How could he stand tall in front of the world if news of this got out? No. This can't continue. Even though this fire dragon flame was one of his most formidable techniques, it wasn't the most formidable. Moreover, his most formidable fire attribute technique couldn't be utilized rashly. Otherwise, he would have to recuperate for at least a few decades before he could recover. However, this little girl had already completely angered him, so he would rather lose decades to destroy this girl. Otherwise, the Sun family would probably be destroyed in the hands of this damn girl sooner or later. Usually, it was very difficult for a person to control their rationality when they were the most angry. Therefore, the only thing he could think of now was to get rid of his opponent. Unfortunately, he had forgotten that if he used his sure kill technique, not only would it affect his body, but it would also cause huge losses to the place where they were fighting. At this moment, his heart was already filled with anger. He couldn't remember that he was in the Sun family's ancestral mansion. Chapter 833, Flame Dragon Storm. 4, Damn girl, look at my flame dragon storm, the burly man roared. Then, fire attribute mystic energy slowly gathered in his palms. Immediately, all the fire attribute mystic energy within a radius of 50 kilometers of the Sun family's main residence rushed over from all directions at the same time. Flame Dragon Storm. It sounds quite formidable. Len Ruoxua's face was full of anticipation. However, when she saw the fire attribute profound energy surging from the peak, she was even more looking forward to this profound technique that her opponent valued. Flame Dragon Storm. No. The expressions of the Sun family's old ancestors, who were fighting with Fengde and the others, immediately changed drastically when they heard this name. Unfortunately, they shouted a little late because the burly man had already begun to gather mystic energy. Looking at the mystic energy surging in from all directions, which had already dyed the sky above the Sun family's main residence red, the hearts of those who understood the might of the flame dragon storm sank, and an ominous premonition shrouded their hearts. They admitted that their opponent was very strong, but there was no need to use the extremely destructive mystic technique, Flame Dragon Storm. This was the Sun family's territory. Blood dripped from the hearts of the Sun family's ancestors when they thought of this. However, the Flame Dragon Storm was already being activated in an irresistible manner, so all they could do was minimize the losses. Unfortunately, wishes were beautiful, but reality was cruel. Although they wanted to protect the main residents of the Sun family and disperse the clansmen of the Sun family, they were firmly entangled by Fengde and the others and couldn't do anything. The ancestors of the Sun family were angry. The situation in front of them was becoming more and more critical, but they couldn't escape. However, as the saying goes, bystanders see better. They were in the battlefield, so they didn't realize that Fengde and the others didn't use their full strength when fighting with them. Otherwise, these people would have probably died long ago. Fengde and the others had the same thoughts as Leng Ruoxue, they wouldn't let these people die too quickly. Fengde and the others saw that their opponents were distracted and were a little anxious to get rid of them, and they knew in their hearts that the power of this flame dragon storm was probably not trivial. However, they were not afraid. Anyway, this was not their territory, hee. Fengde and the others continued to fight their opponents. On the other side, the burly man's flame dragon storm was already ready to attack. It was almost done. The burly man felt the abundant fire attribute mystic energy in his hand and was overjoyed. He was very confident in this sure kill technique of his. He believed that flame dragon storm could definitely destroy Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue, who was standing opposite him, was also filled with anticipation for this technique and added another layer of defense to herself. The flame dragon storm was released from the burly man's hand with the force of breaking bamboo. Immediately, a huge fire dragon burning with raging flames pounced directly at Leng Ruoxue with bared fangs and brandished claws, and a huge explosion happened in front of the water curtain. With a loud bang, the entire sky of the Sun family's main residence was filled with flames in an instant. The exploding fire dragons dyed the sky red, and the temperature was scorching hot. The power of this fire dragon explosion was indeed extraordinary. It was at least dozens of times stronger than the fire dragon flame just now. Therefore, Leng Ruoxue, who was mentally prepared, immediately teleported away from the range of the explosion after the explosion. However, she was still affected by the explosion wave and suffered considerable internal injuries. Her water curtain was also shattered by the fire dragon explosion. However, the elders of the Sun family were even more unlucky. As they were tied up too tightly and were starving to death and weak all over, they were unable to escape at all. Moreover, they were piled in the middle of the yard by Fengde and the others, and they were in the middle of the explosion. Therefore, after the violent explosion, they were the first to bear the brunt. In just a breath, the elders of the Sun family were turned to ashes by the scorching high temperature. Alas! The poor elders of the Sun family probably never dreamed that they would die in the hands of their ancestor even though they clearly found helpers to save their lives. The Sun family's main residence had also turned into ruins because of this big explosion. Many of the Sun family members who were unprepared and had been hiding in the corners had also become sacrifices for this explosion and were buried with the Sun family's main residence. As for the burly man who launched the flame dragon storm, it wasn't much better because not only did he use up all his profound strength during the flame dragon storm, he was even heavily injured by the backlash of the profound technique. At the same time, he was affected by the explosion. In short, the gains simply didn't make up for the losses. Fengde and the others immediately teleported out of the range of the explosion after the explosion. However, the power of this explosion was too great, so they were also attacked by the aftermath of the explosion. Fortunately, their injuries were not serious. After all, they were farther away from the center of the explosion than Leng Ruoxue. Their opponents, because they hoped to save a few elders of the Sun family, were unable to escape the explosion in time, so their injuries were not light. After the explosion, the Sun family either died or were injured. They suffered heavy losses. After hearing the explosion, Sunzhou City's citizens were also attracted. However, no one dared to get too close, afraid that they would become cannon fodder. "Shuer, are your injuries serious?" In the air, the freak hugged Leng Ruoxue tightly and asked worriedly. "I'm fine." Leng Ruoxue wiped the blood off her lips and then took out a pill from her bracelet and put it in her mouth. Alas! The power of this flame dragon storm was indeed extraordinary. She felt that her reaction speed was already fast enough, but she was still injured. However, Her heart was filled with warmth when she saw the freak's worried expression. Miss. At this moment, Feng De and the others also gathered beside Leng Ruoxue and looked at her worriedly. Don't worry, I'm fine, Leng Ruoxue explained. Are your injuries serious? Leng Ruoxue asked worriedly. Miss, we're fine, Feng De said immediately. They were only lightly injured, and they had all eaten pills, so their injuries were already healed. That's good. Leng Ruoxue was relieved. Then she turned her gaze to the dumbfounded ancestors of the Sun family and said, the power of Flame Dragon Storm is indeed strong. Well. The entire Sun family is destroyed. Damn it, shut up. The burly man's depressed heart became even more annoyed and depressed when he heard Leng Ruoxue's words. Moreover, what made him even angrier was that not only did his sure-kill technique not kill the wretched girl in front of him, it even destroyed the entire Sun family. How could he accept this? Chapter 834, A Rare Sparring Partner, 1, Damn girl, I'm going to kill you, the burly man roared. He forced his exhausted body to pounce at Leng Ruoxue, but he lost his balance and fell onto a pile of ruins with a plop. You can't kill me like this, right? Leng Ruoxue reminded with a naughty smile. Well. Since they were enemies, she naturally had to hit him while he was down. After all, she was not a soft-hearted person. She would definitely do something like hitting a drowning dog. The burly man was furious, but he also knew that Leng Ruoxue was telling the truth. He really couldn't kill her with his current appearance. The burly man's heart was bleeding as he looked at the ruins in front of him, and he was in a daze. Boo-hoo! How could this be? Why was the Sun family destroyed in his hands? How? How could he explain it to the Sun family's Lai Zhu sect? He was a sinner of the Sun family. Thinking of this, his large palm suddenly struck the top of his head to apologize with death. Third brother. Third brother. Roars of anger and despair echoed in a radius of 50 kilometers around the Sun family. What a close brotherhood. Feng De said mockingly. His voice sounded so out of place amidst the angry roar. Leng Ruoxue, our Sun family won't let you go. One of the elders of the Sun family roared at the top of his lungs. This time, what they thought would be a piece of cake happened in such a dramatic manner. Leng Ruoxue and the others were only injured, but countless elders and clansmen of the Sun family were dead or injured. Although they were not the ones who released the Flame Dragon Storm, they could not escape the blame for such a major change in the Sun family. Thinking of this, the elders of the Sun family, who were heavily injured, looked at each other and attacked Leng Ruoxue with the determination to die. Sensing the suicidal attacks of the Sun family's ancestors, Feng De and the others immediately went forward without retreating. Be careful. Leng Ruoxue stood by the side and reminded them. With such an unexpected change in the Sun family, these old men could not accept this fact. They naturally became the punching bags of the Sun family's ancestors. However, they were not pushovers. Leng Ruoxue didn't care about them even if they weren't injured, let alone a few old men with serious injuries. However, these old men were all determined to die, so their attacks were ruthless and fierce. Moreover, they had the intention of perishing with the other party, and every move they made was fatal. Not only that, all of their sure-win tactics were secretly brewing. Leng Ruoxue, who was watching the battle, felt the abnormal flow of spiritual energy in the air. Her heart tightened. Damn it! Were these old men crazy? Could it be that they all wanted to use their sure-win tactics? Thinking of this, Leng Ruoxue hurriedly shouted at the people in the battle, Feng De, finish this quickly. If she really let these old things activate her sure-win tactics, the entire Sun Zhou city would probably be destroyed. She didn't want to die with these old fellows from the Sun family. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Feng De and the others, who had been casually teasing the Sun family's old ancestors, became extremely alert. They attacked the Sun family's old ancestor who was fighting them from multiple sides. The mystic techniques in their hands kept bombarding their opponents, destroying the mystic energy they were condensing and interrupting their crazy plan. Leng Ruoxue, the Sun family will drag you down with them. A despairing gaze appeared in the eyes of an elder. Then, his body expanded. In the blink of an eye, his body blew up like a balloon. Hurry up and dodge, he's going to self-destruct. Leng Ruoxue hurriedly reminded. A mystic supremacy self-destructing was not a joke. Moreover, the power of self-destruction was not any weaker than a sure-kill technique, and they did not even need to condense mystic energy. However, no one would choose to self-destruct if they did not want to die with the other party. After all, if they could kill the other party with a sure-kill technique, they could at least have a life. However, self-destruction was quite a thorough death, and they could not even leave a trace of divine sense. At the same time as Leng Ruoxue reminded them, Fengde and the others also realized that they wanted to self-destruct, so they left the battle circle without hesitation. Well, the Sun family was suicidal, they hadn't lived long enough. Bang! 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 Several loud bangs sounded at the same time as Fengde and the others teleported. The ancestors of the Sun family exploded one after another as if they were relieving themselves. Leng Ruoxue saw that the situation was bad, so with a thought, she brought everyone into her bracelet. What a joke! If a mystic supremacy self-destructed, they would probably be fine as long as they stayed away and put up a defense. However, with so many mystic supremacies self-destructing, it was unknown if Sun Zhouqing could survive. Therefore, Leng Ruoxue didn't dare to risk the lives of her own people. After entering the bracelet, Leng Ruoxue and the others had been observing the situation outside. Thus, the consequences of the self-destruction were basically within their expectations. After the self-destructive yuan dissipated, Leng Ruoxue and the others took out their bracelets. Now, all the buildings in Sun Zhou City had collapsed except for the city walls that remained standing. Moreover, countless citizens in the city had died. At least, they didn't see anyone alive around them now. I've finally witnessed the power of a mystic supremacy's self-destruction today. Fengde was a little speechless as he said. Oh. If they used their sure win tactic heavenly technique, it would probably not be much. Yes, consider yourself lucky. Such a scene isn't easy to see, the little old man said emotionally. Sigh. A good main city was destroyed just like that. Even though the Sun family deserved to die, the citizens who were buried in the city were innocent. The so-called ancestors of the Sun family had never thought about the serious consequences their decision would cause to the citizens with low cultivation when they self-destructed. Therefore, in essence, the Sun family was selfish. However, the Sun family could be considered to have been destroyed by their own people. Moreover, the matter with the Sun family was not over. Las, these people who self-destruct can only be considered a drop in the ocean to the ancestors of the Sun family, so let's make plans early. I believe they will arrive soon, the little old man reminded. There was a signal from the Sun family's ancestor before he self-destructed, so he was very sure that the Sun family's cultivation ground was probably in chaos now. It wouldn't be long before the other ancestors of the Sun family would arrive. Chapter 835, A Rare Sparring Partner, 2, Grandpa Du, they're already here, Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. With such an intense explosion happening in Sun Zhou City, these people would rush over to investigate even if no one sent a letter. Now, they should be all out. Moreover, they were less than 1,000 meters away. Who destroyed our Sun Zhou City? A lion's roar entered Leng Ruoxue and the others' ears before they arrived. Moreover, the roar carried a shocking pressure that caused Fengde and the others who hadn't advanced to mystic supremacy to be dazed. Leng Ruoxue stored Fengde and the others into her bracelet. Alas! These people were not ordinary mystic supremacies, so the battle was no longer something they could participate in. Las, did you destroy our Sun Zhou City? Nearly 100 mystic supremacies stood about 10 meters away from Leng Ruoxue and the others and questioned angrily. No, Leng Ruoxue asked calmly. They really didn't destroy Sun Zhou City. Although these mystic supremacies gave people a lot of pressure, she wouldn't panic and retreat before the battle. She wanted to know how big the difference between her and these mystic supremacies was. After all, it wasn't easy to find an opponent who would do his best. "Lass, how dare you quibble in front of me? Humph. You obviously destroyed the foundation of our Sun family for tens of thousands of years. Today, all of you will be buried with the Sun family," the leading old man said with a ruthless expression, his shrewd eyes staring at Leng Ruoxue. "Humph. These people will all die." Old man, Sun Zhoucheng was obviously destroyed by the Sun family. As a member of the Sun family, you should know the aura of your own clansmen well, right? But you insisted on blaming us. Well. This is a show of shirking your responsibility. Leng Ruoxue mocked lightly, her beautiful eyes full of sarcasm. "Damn girl, don't think I'll let you go even if you tell me the truth today. Our Sun Zhou city is destroyed, and you can forget about leaving alive," the old man said fiercely. "Is that so? Old man, are all the Sun family here?" Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. Well, it was better to confirm it. With Sun Zhoucheng destroyed, those clansmen who had escaped from the Sun family's main residence would probably not be able to escape. However, if this old man brought all the elders of the Sun family here, it would save her a lot of trouble. Since this old man wanted to kill them, she naturally wanted to eliminate them at the root. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Of course, you'll definitely die today, the old man said very confidently. Humph. It was just a little girl. He didn't care about her. Moreover, he was very sure that even if this damn girl's methods were outstanding, she would only die in front of them. Then I'm relieved, Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Don't worry about what. We won't let you guys die too happily, the old man reminded. Thinking about how their Sun family had dominated the vast Heaven continent for tens of thousands of years, their Sun family's history in the vast Heaven continent was even longer than the Leng family's. But now, the Sun family was destroyed in the hands of a little girl. How could he not hate this? Each other. Leng Ruoxue agreed. This old man wanted to kill her, but how could she not want to kill these people in front of her? She did not like to leave trouble for herself, so unless an accident happened, she would not be soft-hearted. Ha! Looks like this old man really hasn't walked around the boundless Heaven continent for a long time. To think that there's actually such an arrogant wretched girl like you. Humph. Today, this old man will let you see what's called a true powerhouse. The old man narrowed his eyes. At the same time as he spoke, he didn't forget to release his pressure. However, he quickly noticed that the little girl before him was actually able to remain calm and composed under his pressure. After all, the pressure he released now was only targeted at this damn girl, so it was countless times stronger than before. However, it seemed to be useless against her. Damn girl, tell me your name, the old man said angrily. It seemed that this damn girl had some skills. He had really underestimated her just now. Leng Ruoxue, old man, what about you? Leng Ruoxue asked after introducing herself. How can you know my name? The old man said unhappily with a stern face. Old man, could it be that your name is grandson? Leng Ruoxue asked angrily. Hee. Just now, Empty sent her a voice transmission saying that there was a very senior ancestor in the Sun family named Grandson. She almost burst out laughing when she heard that. Damn it, you're the grandson. My surname is Sun and my name is Ji. I'm not a grandson 1 inch, the old man roared angrily. Damn it, his name had angered him a lot. Now, his name had become the grandson of a little girl. How could someone so proud bear humiliation? Same, Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Same my ass. Damn girl, you're dead meat today, Sun Ji said angrily. Then he directly pushed out a palm. The palm wind carried a gust of cold air as it pounced at Leng Ruoxue. Grandson. The battle is about to begin. You don't know how to respect your elders. Leng Ruoxia's beautiful face was full of disappointment as she spoke. Her beautiful eyes were filled with provocation. However, she didn't dare to lower her guard against this old man's attack. However, she didn't use her full strength. It could be said that everything was probing. Damn girl, take another move of mine. Sun Ji didn't care at all when he saw that Leng Ruoxia easily dodged his first attack. After all, someone who could force the experts of his Sun family to self-destruct was definitely not a superficial embroidered pillow, and he had only used 30% of his strength in that move just now. Stinky old man, it's my turn to make a move this time, Leng Ruoxia said with a light smile. Then, she released the meteor shower without hesitation. Ha! Lass, is that all you've got? You actually want to use the meteor shower to deal with a mystic supremacy? Humph. You really overestimate your capabilities. Sun Ji was a mystic with the water attribute as the main attribute, so he naturally knew the power of the meteor shower. Therefore, he didn't take Leng Ruoxia's attack seriously at all. However, when the tens of thousands of raindrops approached him, he deeply felt that this meteor shower was abnormal. Could this still be considered a meteor shower? Even though he was a mystic supremacy, he could not guarantee that it would be so powerful if he launched the meteor rain. If it were an ordinary mystic supremacy in today's battle, this meteor rain would probably injure him even if it could not kill his opponent. Thinking of this, he became even more serious about this battle that seemed to have a great disparity in strength. Chapter 836, A Rare Sparring Partner, 3. Sun Ji raised his hands slightly, and a light blue curtain wall blocked in front of him. Even though most of the raindrops approaching him had been blocked, a small number of fish still slipped through the curtain wall and hit him. The raindrops hit his body. Outsiders might think that they only wet his clothes, but only Sun Ji knew how painful the sharp raindrops were when they hit his body. Stinky old man, is it cool? Leng Ruoxia blinked and asked. Damn girl, from this moment onwards, I will let you enjoy the highest treatment of your opponent, Sun Ji said very seriously. What he was trying to convey was that he was going to use his full strength. I'm looking forward to it, Leng Ruoxia said. Well. This old man should be the strongest among the opponents she had encountered. It was very rare to be able to fight with such an expert, so she would definitely do her best. At the same time, the ancestors of the Sun family brought by Sun Ji found their opponents when they saw Sun Ji attack. However, the battle situation happened to change this time. In the previous battle, because Feng De and the others were involved, they had the absolute advantage in numbers. They were basically fighting in groups, but now, they were fighting in groups. None of you will live today, the two mystic supremacies glared at Cheng Wu and said fiercely. Oh. Underestimating your enemy is a big taboo in battle, Cheng Wu reminded kindly. There were not many opportunities to fight two mystic supremacies at the same time, so not only was he not afraid, but his fighting spirit was also high. You're dead meat, the two elders of the Sun family said. Then, they looked at each other and attacked at the same time. In an instant, two streams of mystic energy were like two dragons rushing out of the sea, carrying shocking power as they flew towards Cheng Wu at the same time. Two dragons with gathered mystic energy, one wind and one dark. Even though they attacked at the same time, wind attribute mystic techniques had always been proficient in speed. Therefore, the wind attribute flood dragon quickly became the vanguard and ran at the front, while the dark attribute flood dragon followed closely behind. Cheng Wu did not panic as he looked at the two profound energy dragons that were right in front of him, one in front and one behind, rushing towards him. His figure even moved quickly. Moreover, he easily dodged the wind attribute dragon's attack. However, he was unable to dodge the dark attribute dragon that followed closely behind. Therefore, he was still injured. Dark attribute mystic energy had a certain degree of corrosion, so even though Cheng Wu's injuries were not very serious, the injuries spread in the blink of an eye. Cheng Wu did not dare to slack off. He quickly took out a pill and threw it into his mouth. At the same time, he summoned his beasts. The two ancestors of the Sun family looked at the fire phoenix and the dragon that suddenly appeared in front of them and their hearts sank. They secretly cursed. Damn, where did this freak come from? There was actually a dragon and phoenix as contract beasts. This time, it was impossible for them to summon their beasts to help even if they wanted to because their beasts were helpless in front of the dragon and phoenix. Even if they were of the same level, the bloodline pressure of the dragon and phoenix was not something ordinary beasts could withstand. After Chen Wu's beast came out, it immediately changed the situation on the battlefield. With the addition of Long and Feng, the battle also went from 1 against 2 to 3 against 2. However, Chen Wu didn't intend to bully them with numbers. Instead, he instructed his beast to hold back one of the mystic supremacies while he sparred with the other. After all, the opponent before him was a famous mystic supremacy for many years. His strength was on a completely different level compared to ordinary mystic supremacies, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. The others had the same thoughts as Chen Wu. After summoning their beasts to restrain the other mystic supremacies, they could focus on dealing with one person. Damn girl, you really surprise me. Sun Ji couldn't help saying enviously when he saw the battle situation of the others from the corner of his eye. After being in seclusion for many years, even though he was no longer as supportive of the current situation in the vast heaven continent as before, he was also very clear that dragons and phoenixes would not casually acknowledge others as their masters. However, everything in front of him shattered his assumption. Therefore, he really wanted to know who these people were. Who did the Sun family provoke that actually caused a family extermination? Unfortunately, he was destined to not receive this answer. Old man, I'm also very satisfied with you, Len Ruoxue said politely. It wasn't easy to find a good sparring partner. Damn girl, even though I admire you, I can't let you go. Sun Ji's voice turned cold as he glared at her. I don't need you to let me go. You might be stronger than me, but you can't kill me, and I can kill you. Len Ruoxue said confidently. The two of them had fought for dozens of rounds. Even though she was at a slight disadvantage, the old man didn't gain any advantage. Moreover, this was under the circumstances that she didn't use the beast. However, she was almost familiar with this old man's moves now, so she didn't have the patience to continue pestering him. She planned to kill him after she was done with him. With a thought, Len Ruoxue moved Feng Zhan and the black python, who strongly requested to fight, out of the bracelet. Sun Jigang was about to say, you arrogant wretched girl, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, before he could say this, he was stunned by the two beasts that suddenly appeared in front of him. The two beasts in front of him were both level 9 super beasts. One of the extremely huge fire phoenixes had unfathomable strength. As soon as it appeared, the temperature here immediately soared, grilled people until they were very uncomfortable. Moreover, that fire phoenix made him feel a trace of nervousness that he had never felt before. Old man, I won't bully you. I'll only use two beasts to fight you. Of course, for the sake of fairness, you can also summon two beasts, Len Ruoxue reminded with a naughty smile. Damn girl, you, Sun Ji was so angry that he couldn't say anything. Damn. He wanted to summon a beast, but where could he get two level 9 transcendent divine beasts? Did they really think that level 9 transcendent divine beasts were cabbages that could be found easily? Chapter 837, Ling Xiaoyu vs Sun Tao, 1. Moreover, even if he had a level 9 transcendent divine beast, he would probably be unable to retaliate under the bloodline pressure of the fire phoenix. Boo-hoo. This was obviously bullying. Unless he had a level 9 transcendent divine beast dragon, no beast would be a match for this fire phoenix. Actually, I want to say that using two beast men to deal with you is a little overreacting. Well. Big Blackie, go play with him first. Len Ruoxue instructed. Yes, miss, the black python, which was the big black snake Len Ruoxue mentioned, answered happily. Because miss already had little black, she could only be the big one. Boo-hoo. Lass, you're biased. Feng Zhan was displeased when it heard that the big black python would fight first. It came out to fight. It would not be able to take it if it only watched and didn't attack. Let Big Blackie practice first. There are very few human experts with such high strength in this world. Moreover, there are even fewer who will sincerely fight with us. Well, if you want to fight, there are still people over there. Len Ruoxue comforted. All right. I'll look for other people to play with, Feng Zhan said after some thought. It would be happy as long as it fought. Therefore, it didn't matter who its opponent was. What was important was that it had to fight. It was best if its body was as strong as that old dragon's. After Feng Zhan finished speaking, he flew to the side of an old ancestor of the Sun family. At the same time, the Black Python and Sun Ji fought, and Len Ruoxue became a spectator again. This fellow's body is too weak. I only touched it lightly, why did it burn to ashes? Boo-hoo! Feng Zhan looked at his opponent who had already turned to ashes gloomily, his eyes filled with tears, feeling very wronged. Ah! Chen Wu, who had just defeated his opponent, also looked at the old phoenix gloomily. He wanted to cry but had no tears. That was his opponent. He was played to death by this fierce old phoenix in an instant. Who could he find to reason with? Boo-hoo! Little guy, don't be sad. Isn't there someone else? Feng Zhan looked at Cheng Wu who was also depressed and comforted him. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Yes, yes. Cheng Wu nodded. Then he turned his gaze to the others and looked at Feng Zhan before pouncing towards the others. With Feng Zhan joining the battle, the bodies of the Sun family's old ancestors were as blurry as paper. They basically died instantly. This time, Song Di and the others were all depressed. Boo-hoo! This old phoenix was too powerful and ruthless. He only used a few minutes to destroy all their sparring partners. He was too much. After Cheng Wu and the others reluctantly ended the battle, they came to Len Ruoxue's side and watched the battle with her. They couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Well, as expected of the strongest person in the Sun family, this old man had endured many beatings. Little black snake, do you need my help? The old phoenix, who had not had enough fun, said with a smile. At this moment, the other beasts had already been stored into the beast space by their respective masters, so only Len Ruoxue's two beasts were left on the entire battlefield. Therefore, Feng Zhan felt that they should be united, loving, and helping each other. There's no need. I can handle it. The black python's forehead dripped with 2 drops of cold sweat as it said helplessly. Boo-hoo! This old man is better at taking beatings, Feng Zhan sighed. He even pretended to wipe his tears and pretended to be sad. Damn it, I'm going to kill you. Sun Ji was tightly entangled by the black python. Hearing their conversation and being surrounded by Len Ruoxue and the others, the anger and hatred in his heart had long surged uncontrollably. He knew that the other ancestors from the Sun family were already dead. He hated them. He really wanted to eat their meat, drink their blood, and cut them into pieces. Otherwise, it would be difficult to vent the hatred in his heart. He also knew that as long as the Green Hills remain, there was hope. However, he was alone now. I won't let you have an easy time even if I die. Sun Ji swore in his heart. I'll bite you guys hard even if I die. Thinking of this, he decided to self-destruct. However, the black python didn't give him any chance to self-destruct. After seeing through Sun Ji's intentions, it used its thick snake tail to tightly bind Sun Ji. Do you want to self-destruct? Dream on. The black python tightened its grip, and Sun Ji, who was in it, bit his lower lip until it broke. In all his years of life, he had never hated Len Ruoxue and the others so much as now. He hated this big black python even more. It actually wanted to take away his chance to self-destruct. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Finally, he couldn't take a breath and was angered to death. Oh! Why isn't there any reaction? The black python blinked its big innocent eyes and asked in puzzlement. This old man was struggling with all his might just now. Why did he give up so quickly? He's dead, Feng Zhan reminded. That old man's life was already gone. How is that possible? I didn't use too much strength. The black python was very depressed. Boo-hoo. This had nothing to do with it. Little black snake, could it be that you doubt my judgment? Feng Zhan glared and said with slight dissatisfaction. I don't dare. I don't dare. But I really didn't use any strength. The black python was extremely aggrieved, and tears were already welling up in its eyes. He's angry to death, Leng Ruoxue said understandingly. Ah. Isn't he too angry? Oh. He's not pretending to be dead, is he? The black python said doubtfully. Then, its tail released Sun Ji, who was tightly held by it. It looked at Sun Ji, who had been thrown to the ground, for a long time. It was still a little worried, so it raised its thick snake tail high, planning to cause another accident. Hee hee. Caution always pays off. The Sun family was famous for their cunning nature. However, just as it lowered its snake tail, a loud shout suddenly sounded in their ears. Vile beast! How dare you! Immediately after, a terrifying mystic power hit its thick snake tail, making the black python cry from the pain. Boo-hoo! It hurts! The black python looked at its snake tail that was already torn apart and then looked at the unfathomably powerful man who had suddenly appeared in midair. The anger in its heart burned limitlessly. Humph! It didn't like to be threatened after being with Miss for a long time, so it ignored the man in front of it and fiercely dropped its tail from the sky. It then pressed Sun Ji, who was lying on the ground and had long been angered to death, into pulp. Chapter 838, Ling Xiaoyu vs Sun Tao, 2, Bastard, I'll kill you. The man couldn't help but be furious when he saw the Sun clan member being killed by a snake in front of him. Of course, he didn't know that Sun Ji had been angered to death before he arrived. Humph. Who's afraid of you? The black python said disdainfully. Even though this man's strength was unfathomable, it had so many helpers. How could it be afraid of a human? Therefore, it did not take the man's threat to heart. Good. Good. Looks like I haven't fought in the boundless heaven continent for a long time. A small snake even dares to be arrogant in front of me. Beast! Hand over your life. The man attacked as soon as he said that. At the same time, a light blue mystic energy headed straight for the black python's 7 inches, planning to kill it in one move. This mystic power was too fast. Everyone could not save him even if they wanted to. Leng Ruoxue quickly stored the black python into her bracelet. The man's mystic energy missed and hit the ruins directly. Apart from Leng Ruoxue, all of you will die with our Sun family. The man vented all his anger on Cheng Wu and the others, seeing that he didn't hit the black python. Do you know me? Leng Ruoxue looked up at the man floating in the air and asked lightly. The man in the air was very handsome and had unfathomable strength. However, he gave people a very gloomy feeling. Moreover, his eyes that looked at Leng Ruoxue emitted a different kind of brilliance. The man looked at Leng Ruoxue carefully, feeling increasingly satisfied. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. She was even more beautiful than the portrait. Well. To be precise, the portrait did not express all of Leng Ruoxue's beauty. Apart from her breathtaking beauty, there was no way to show her extraordinary temperament. In short, he wanted this woman for sure, and she could only be his. What do you think? The man asked instead of answering. His eyes could not help but reveal a trace of obsession. How would I know? Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Aren't you curious how I know you? The man asked while suppressing his anger. He had never been completely ignored by a woman like today. No. Leng Ruoxue was very calm. She didn't know who this man was from the Sun family. The man was speechless. In front of Leng Ruoxue, he felt a sense of helplessness he had never felt before. Did you just say that everyone except me has to die? Leng Ruoxue asked with an unfriendly tone. Yes. The man nodded. They are all my relatives and subordinates. If you want to kill them, you have to die, Leng Ruoxue said very seriously. Are you threatening me? The man narrowed his eyes and said unhappily. This woman ignored him just now and actually threatened him now. She was really too disobedient. Everyone knew that he liked obedient women the most. However, it seemed like he would have a greater sense of accomplishment to train a little wild cat into a family cat. It's not a threat, it's just the truth. Leng Ruoxue lightly smiled. Her smile was like 100 flowers blooming, so beautiful that the world lost its color. Whether it's a threat or the truth, they will all die except for you. The man looked at Leng Ruoxue's smile in amazement and only came back to his senses after a long time. Then let's try. However, do you think you can beat so many of us alone? Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. These people are just ants in my eyes. I only need a finger to destroy them, the man said confidently. Don't say it too early. However, I'm very curious. Can you use strength above mystic supremacy in this world? Leng Ruoxue smiled sweetly. Earlier, Wu Tian had sent a voice transmission to her, saying that this man didn't belong to this world. Therefore, even though this man was very strong, he probably couldn't use his full strength with the restrictions of the heaven-earth law. You know quite a lot. I'm even more satisfied with you now, the man said with a smile. He had always thought that women shouldn't be too smart, but Leng Ruoxue was an exception. But I'm not satisfied with you. I hate the Sun family. By the way, Sun Zhou City was destroyed by the so-called ancestors of the Sun family. Leng Ruoxue's tone was very cold, and the disgust on her face was unconcealed. You will be satisfied with me when you become my woman. As for Sun Zhou Cheng, someone will naturally accompany him to the grave. The man was very confident. Are the Sun family all so self-righteous? Let me give you a piece of advice. Be realistic and stop dreaming. Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. She really didn't know what the brains of the Sun family were like. Why did they do things differently from others when they said it? Shuer is my woman. Don't even think about hitting on her. At this moment, the freak also said coldly. Damn it, did she think he was a dead person? She actually dared to tease his woman in front of him. She was really tired of living. I like this woman, the man said domineeringly, not taking the freak seriously at all. You're courting death. The freak was furious. He was about to go forward and teach that shameless man a lesson when he was stopped by Shuer. Why be angry with him because of this? It's not worth it, Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. She didn't want the freak to attack alone. Moreover, she could already tell that the old ancestor that the Sun family had designs on her was most likely him. However, the Sun family didn't exist anymore. It was just an old ancestor, so what was there to be afraid of? Moreover, he couldn't display his true strength in this world, so it shouldn't be difficult for them to destroy him. Yes, Shuer is right. In the freak's eyes, this man was already a dead man. It was indeed not worth it to be angry with a dead man. What? You don't intend to attack? Didn't you say that I'm courting death? The man provoked when he saw that the freak wasn't angry. You're courting death. Moreover, you'll definitely die, the freak promised. Is that so? Then let's see who dies first. Anyway, Leng Ruoxue is mine for sure. Hee hee. The taste of dual cultivation with her will definitely be very good, the man provoked, his words full of teasing. In your dreams, the freak said angrily. Then, black mystic energy was released from his hand. Chapter 839, Leng Xiaoyu vs Sun Tao, 3, everyone, attacked together and beat him up. Leng Ruoxue ordered at the same time. Yes. Cheng Wu and the others were excited after receiving Leng Ruoxue's order. He. They could also tell that this man's strength was extraordinary, so they were excited. Leng Ruoxue, are you planning to kill your husband? The man continued to tease fearlessly as he looked at Cheng Wu and the others who surrounded him. Biological husband? My biological husband isn't you, Leng Ruoxue said honestly. Unfortunately, she had overestimated the thick skin of the man in front of her. I will when I kill them, the man said. Pfft. You want to have designs on my young miss? You're really a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Cheng Wu said with a face full of contempt. Then, he released the mystic energy in his hand. Ha! He looks quite like a toad. Song Di laughed hysterically and then threw out his mystic technique with everyone else. In an instant, multicolored mystic energy danced in the air. Red fire, blue water, green wind, black dark, and yellow earth intertwined to form a dazzling landscape painting that illuminated the sky. The man did not feel any panic when he saw many mystic energy rushing at him. After adding a defense to himself, he began his counterattack. The man's mystic energy was mainly of the water attribute, and a thick water dragon was released from his hand. The water dragon roared, and bared its fangs as it pounced at the freak. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Seeing this, the freak hurriedly released more darkness attribute mystic energy, condensing it into a black dragon that fought the water dragon. Cheng Wu and the others also supported the freak one after another, each using their mystic techniques to pounce on the water dragon. After all, the man's strength was unfathomable, and the water dragon he released was not something ordinary mystic energy could compare to. The water dragon, which was being beaten up by many mystic techniques, was furious. It glared at the black dragon with its blurry eyes. Obviously, in its eyes, only this dragon condensed from black mystic energy was its opponent, and it didn't care about anything else. However, it didn't feel good to be stared at like a tiger watching its prey. Therefore, its thick dragon body split into several smaller clones that pounced at the other opponents. Its main opponent was the black mystic energy dragon. The two mystic energy dragons glared at each other for a while before entangling again. They fought until the sky darkened. At the beginning, the huge dragon formed by black mystic energy still had the strength to fight against the water dragon. The two dragons were locked in a fierce battle, unable to decide the winner. However, when the water dragon's clone completed the mission and gathered with the water dragon again, the black dragon gradually fell into a disadvantage. Miss, this person is so powerful. Cheng Wu wiped away the blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth and exclaimed. He had lost the mystic energy battle just now, so he suffered some injuries. However, his injuries immediately recovered after eating the pill. Amen. Leng Ruoxue nodded, her eyes tightly staring at the black and blue profound power dragons in the battle. She knew that the battle between the two dragons was also a battle between the freak and the man, which was also the so-called battle between men. So, even though she wanted to help the freak, she didn't attack. Suddenly, under the attack of the powerful water dragon, the black mystic energy dragon was blasted into pieces and slowly disappeared into the sky. Freak. The black profound energy dragon's death caused a backlash on the freak's body. Leng Ruoxue's heart ached when she saw him spit out a mouthful of blood. She hurriedly supported his tottering body, took out another pill, and placed it in his mouth, wiping the blood off his lips. "I'm fine," the freak said soothingly. The freak's starry eyes stared intently at the man opposite him. He knew that there was a difference in strength between him and this man now, but it was not so easy for this man to defeat him. In the battle just now, this man might have won, but he must be very depressed. Humph. If it was the old him, killing this man would be as easy as crushing an ant. Alas. This damn body. It was really too weak. You lost, the man reminded, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Damn it, he actually couldn't kill him. Winning or losing once doesn't mean anything. Schwer can only be mine unless I die. The freak smiled. Then die. The man was furious and released 2 water dragons of the same size at the same time. The 2 water dragons roared, bared their teeth, and aggressively circled in the air a few times before pouncing in the direction of the freak with anger. The freak was about to retaliate when he was stopped by Schwer. Let me do it. You are my man, and you should be protected by me. Let me try the power of these 2 water dragons. Leng Ruoxu's will was firm, and she didn't allow the freak to refuse. Okay. The freak was very happy. Schwer's words made him nearly burst with joy. After Leng Ruoxu finished speaking, she also used her mystic energy to condense 2 majestic water dragons and intertwined with the 2 threatening water dragons in the sky. Humph. How dare a man like you let a woman protect you, the man said with jealousy, his angry eyes about to spew fire. What's there to be embarrassed about? A man who can be protected by his woman is bliss. You can't be jealous, the freak said proudly. Don't be too smug too early. You're dead meat today. The man narrowed his eyes and roared enviously at the freak as he controlled the water dragon with his mind. Sun Tao, you're really becoming more and more promising. You actually dare to strut around in front of the younger generation. A somewhat cold voice suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. Who is it? Come out. The man immediately lost his composure when he heard that it was someone who knew him. Why did this voice sound so familiar? What? You can't even recognize your old friend's voice? The voice said mockingly. Then, 2 incomparably handsome young men appeared in midair. Leng Xiaoyu. Why are you and your grandchildren here? The man named Sun Tao was shocked. He had a bad premonition. Chapter 840, Leng Xiaoyu vs Sun Tao, 4, You can be here, why can't we be here? Leng Xiaoyu's handsome face was full of question marks. I'm talking about why are you in the vast heaven continent? Sun Tao could not help roaring. No reason. I come back when I want to. However, you're actually willing to come back, Leng Xiaoyu said in surprise. Humph. You don't have to care about my business. Sun Tao said irritably. He hated Leng Xiaoyu because they were natural enemies. In fact, to be precise, he had always treated Leng Xiaoyu as his greatest opponent. However, that damn fellow never took him seriously, and he would be unlucky every time he saw this man. I don't intend to care about you, but what you're doing now involves me, Leng Xiaoyu said with a smile. What do you mean? Sun Tao was puzzled. Little Schwer, stand down. Leave this dog to me. Leng Xiaoyu didn't answer Sun Tao's question and instead instructed Leng Ruoxu directly. Okay. Leng Ruoxu was happy that someone was willing to fight instead. Moreover, she was indeed not Sun Tao's match at that moment. Therefore, after retracting her mystic energy, she retreated to the side and prepared to watch the battle. Well. This cheap old ancestor and Sun Tao should be evenly matched, so she was looking forward to their battle. Leng Xiaoyu, I took a fancy to this woman first. Do you want to snatch her from me? Sun Tao roared angrily. Damn it, he obviously had the chance to kill these people, but Leng Xiaoyu ran out and interrupted, so his hatred for Leng Xiaoyu deepened another level. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Do you think I'm a brainless guy like you? Little Schwer is my descendant. Leng Xiaoyu rolled his eyes and said speechlessly. He had known Sun Tao for many years and knew Sun Tao's character better than anyone else. However, it was Sun Tao's personal business if he liked women. He couldn't care less, but he couldn't have designs on his little Schwer. Your descendant? When did you have another descendant? Sun Tao didn't believe it. He felt that Leng Xiaoyu was lying to him because he had never seen any women around Leng Xiaoyu. What? Can't I have a few descendants just because you have a lot of descendants? However, your descendants combined can't compare to mine, Leng Xiaoyu said proudly. He might not have many descendants, but the quality was good. Unlike the Sun family, which was a group of trash. Leng Xiaoyu, you really deserve to die. Sun Tao was even angrier when he heard Leng Xiaoyu's words. Damn it, wasn't this rubbing salt on his wounds? Sun Zhou City had turned into ruins now, and he didn't believe that Leng Xiaoyu couldn't see it. Hee hee. I'm sorry for bringing up your sad story. You don't seem to have any descendants now. Damn it, don't seem to have survived, Leng Xiao gloated, adding oil to the fire. However, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Little Shuer was still the best. The Sun family was really played by her. Well, as expected of his bloodline. Leng Xiaoyu. Sun Tao was angry. The consequences were serious. Sun Tao commanded his 2 water dragons to fly towards Leng Xiaoyu aggressively. Humph. He couldn't bear to kill Leng Ruoxue, but he wouldn't pity a stinky man who always went against him. After Leng Ruoxue retracted her mystic energy and retreated, he didn't continue fighting, so these 2 water streams kept dancing in the air, waiting for his order. With a thought, the 2 water dragons immediately moved. Sun Tao, we haven't fought in a long time. Leng Xiaoyu chuckled. He also used his mystic energy to condense 2 dragons burning with flames and welcomed the 2 threatening water dragons. Leng Xiaoyu, you are definitely not my match now, Sun Tao said confidently. Is that so? Could it be that you have a good opportunity? Leng Xiaoyu guessed jokingly. Humph. Do you think he'll tell you? Sun Tao glared at Leng Xiaoyu. It doesn't matter. Leng Xiaoyu didn't care at all. The 2 of them bickered, and the huge dragon they condensed with mystic energy was also staring at each other like their master, wishing to glare a hole through the other party. There was a long pause. The 4 mystic energy dragons intertwined, and slowly, the water and fire attributes' spiritual energy in the sky gradually became restless. Chapter 841, Azure Dragon Mountain, 1, Water and fire attributes spiritual energy, which were slightly wild, rushed over from all directions and fused into the bodies of the 4 mystic dragons. Immediately, the bodies of the 4 dragons became another size, and their power was even stronger. The 2 fire dragons and the water dragons collided, causing a loud bang. In an instant, flames soared into the sky and streams of light overflowed. However, the 4 dragons were on par. After entangling for a long time, no one could do anything to each other. The 4 dragons stopped fighting and glared at each other, releasing some pressure from time to time. Just as Leng Xiaoyu and Sun Tao were each controlling their mystic energy dragons and were in a deadlock, Leng Qianye ran to Leng Ruoxue's side and looked at her resentfully. Little Shuer, how can you abandon me? Boo-hoo, Leng Qianye said pitifully. People who didn't know the situation would definitely think that Leng Ruoxue abandoned her in a mess. When did I abandon you? Don't spout nonsense. Leng Ruoxue's forehead was covered in black lines as she said speechlessly. This fellow really dared to say anything. Fortunately, there were no outsiders here, otherwise, she would be misunderstood to death. You did. You left without saying goodbye. Boo-hoo, Leng Qianye complained, tears still in his starry eyes. Grand Elder, we often leave without saying goodbye. Alas. The atmosphere during our farewells is too sad, Leng Ruoxue sighed. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. That's true. However, you can take me with you. Leng Qianye said matter-of-factly. Take you with me? You are the Grand Elder of the Leng family. Won't the Leng family hunt me down if I abduct you? Leng Ruoxue was very afraid of trouble, so she naturally wouldn't ask for trouble. No, indispensable in the Leng family. I don't care about anything, Leng Qianye said resentfully. The dispensable one. Leng Ruoxue rolled her eyes and helplessly said. How can you be dispensable? You're very important, Leng Qianye said hurriedly. Let's not talk about this first. Tell me, why did you and that cheap old ancestor come here? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. To help you, of course. Ling Qianye said with a smile, his handsome face full of pride. Oh. Thank you, then. Ling Ruoxue nodded and said politely. With the resourcefulness of the cheap old ancestor, it shouldn't be difficult to know that she was in the Sun family. However, she really didn't expect them to specially come over to help her. This couldn't help making her feel a trace of warmth in her heart. Little Shuer, there's no need to be so polite with us. However, we were still a step too late. Alas. We heard the explosion before we entered the city. We were afraid that something would happen to you. Fortunately, you were all fine, Ling Qianye said with relief. Hee hee. How can it be so easy to kill us? Ling Ruoxue said confidently. Yes, you're all unkillable cockroaches. Your vitality is tenacious. Ling Qianye said cooperatively. Ah. We're not cockroaches. Ling Ruoxue said with 2 drops of cold sweat on her forehead. Hee hee. Ling Qianye laughed evilly. By the way, is the cheap old ancestor and Sun Tao old enemies? Ling Ruoxue asked uncertainly. From Sun Tao's tone, he seemed to hate the cheap old ancestor. My grandfather doesn't treat him as an opponent. That fellow is delusional. Just treat what he said as farting. Don't take it to heart, Ling Qianye said nonchalantly. Not only that. I think he likes to daydream. Ling Ruoxue smiled. Yes. Little Shuer, that fellow is a big pervert. You have to stay away from him. You will be very depressed if you are targeted by him. Ling Qianye reminded. I think I've already been targeted by him, Ling Ruoxue said with a bitter face, feeling extremely depressed. It's okay. Grandpa will definitely beat him up this time until he doesn't dare to have any ideas about you. However, you have to be careful if you're alone. Sun Tao is very strong. In this world, no one can restrain him except Grandpa, Ling Qianye reminded. Ling Ruoxue nodded. Even though she was not Sun Tao's match now, as long as it was in the boundless heaven continent, she was really not afraid of Sun Tao. No matter how strong Sun Tao's strength was, her own beasts would have to tire him to death with their tag team battle. However, being remembered by others every day, after all, it was not a good thing. Therefore, if there was a chance, she still hoped to be able to eliminate Sun Tao. This fellow was a big worry in her heart. Can't you kill him? Ling Ruoxue asked after some thought. There's definitely no way to kill him in the boundless heaven continent. Sigh. Ling Qianye said somewhat helplessly. Oh. Ling Ruoxue was depressed. Little Shuer, don't worry. When you're strong enough, you can definitely kill him in the future, Ling Qianye hurriedly comforted. It's okay. I'm not in a hurry. At most, I'll beat him up every time he comes, Ling Ruoxue said calmly. Yes, he's asking for a beating, Ling Qianye agreed. Due to the restriction of the continent's level, there were many things that could not be completed in this world, but beating was still possible. The two of them chatted in private, and the battle between Ling Xiaoyu and Sun Tao also changed rapidly. The 4 dragons condensed from mystic energy gradually became more and more transparent after many collisions and killings. This was obviously a sign that their mystic energy was exhausted. On the battlefield, Ling Xiaoyu looked at his old opponent calmly and said, Sun Tao, we've fought so many times in the past that it's difficult to determine the winner. Do you still want to continue fighting now? Of course, Sun Tao said resolutely. The two of them had not had the chance to fight for many years after cultivating for so long. They thought that they could defeat Ling Xiaoyu after their strength increased, but who knew that neither of them could do anything to the other. Alas! It was really depressing. No. He had to win. But I don't think we need to waste time, Ling Xiaoyu said disapprovingly. Ling Xiaoyu, unless you admit defeat, Sun Tao provoked. Admit defeat? That's impossible, Ling Xiaoyu refused. What a joke. He didn't lose, so how could he admit defeat? Then continue fighting. We must decide the winner today, Sun Tao said with great determination. You're still as stubborn as ever, Ling Xiaoyu said helplessly. Since this old thing wanted to fight, he could only accompany him to the end. Chapter 842, Azure Dragon Mountain, 2, Ling Xiaoyu, you're bound to lose today, Sun Tao said confidently. A long saber appeared in his hand. As soon as the saber appeared, everyone present felt a terrifying murderous aura. The saber was about 2 feet long and as thin as a cicada's wings, emitting a terrifying cold light. No wonder you're so confident. So you obtained an advanced divine artifact, Ling Xiaoyu said understandingly. You're definitely going to lose this time. Sun Tao was full of pride. He had never been willing to use this saber since he obtained it. Today, he would use Ling Xiaoyu to test the saber. I admit that your heavenly artifact's level is higher than mine, but it's hard to say if he'll lose. Ling Xiaoyu also took out a saber. However, this saber was only an intermediate divine artifact, and its level was lower than Sun Tao's saber. Is that so? Sun Tao sneered and waved the saber in his hand to slash at Ling Xiaoyu. Ling Xiaoyu also waved his saber. Tens of thousands of cold beams met in the air and collided, flashing with a dazzling light. The two saber lights collided, causing intense sparks. However, the outcome was not determined. How is this possible? Sun Tao was in disbelief. His saber was a high-level divine artifact. How did the battle end in a draw? Facts speak louder than words, Ling Xiaoyu said calmly. Advanced divine artifacts were powerful, but divine artifacts had to be tempered no matter how good they were. Sun Tao's saber obviously had not been tempered with him yet, and the saber he used was refined by him. Its affinity was definitely higher than others. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Do you still want to fight? Ling Xiaoyu asked again. Of course. We have to decide the winner today, Sun Tao said fiercely. Alas. You really won't cry until you see the coffin. Ling Xiaoyu shook his head helplessly. Cut the crap. Look at the saber. Sun Tao roared and slashed thrice. The saber beam carried cold air as it pounced at Ling Xiaoyu. This time, Ling Xiaoyu adopted a defensive strategy. When Sun Tao's blade light containing mystic energy approached him, he had already increased his defense in advance, so the sharp blade light happened to collide directly with his defensive barrier. Bang! The defensive barrier shattered, and the saber light completed its mission. Following that, Ling Xiaoyu also waved his saber several times. Tens of thousands of terrifying saber beams charged at Sun Tao with soaring flames. They were so fast that it dazzled everyone and caught them off guard. Sun Tao hurriedly put up a defense when he saw this, but he was still a step too late. He was hit by several saber flashes, and a mouthful of blood directly spurted out from his mouth. Ling Xiaoyu, you can't kill me. Ha! Sun Tao laughed hysterically and disappeared from everyone's sight. Everyone was a little surprised to see Sun Tao suddenly disappear. Where did Sun Tao go? Feng De asked curiously. Well. Was the winner decided? He ran away, Ling Xiaoyu said understandingly. That fellow's escaping skills were top-notch. I'm afraid we will have a lot of trouble in the future if he runs away, Ling Qingtian said gloomily. Don't worry. He should be very injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have run so quickly. Moreover, I believe that he won't have time to find trouble with you for a while, Ling Xiaoyu comforted. That's good. Ling Qingtian felt a little relieved hearing what the cheap old ancestor said. Grandpa, don't worry. There are so many of us and the beasts. If he dares to come, we'll fight him one by one. He'll be exhausted to death. Leng Ruoxue also comforted him. She didn't want her family to be on tenterhooks all day because of Sun Tao. Little Shuer, he has a high-level divine artifact in hand. You must not clash with him head-on. Try to hide if you can the next time you encounter him. Ling Xiaoyu reminded. Advanced divine artifact is very powerful. Feng De was puzzled. His young miss also had a divine artifact. I can't say that it's very powerful, but it's enough to deal with you if it's in Sun Tao's hands. Moreover, it not only makes you mystic supremacies, but your beasts are also level 9 transcendent divine beasts. It's difficult to withstand the might of advanced divine artifacts, especially in this world. Advanced divine artifacts are absolutely considered heaven-defying existences, Ling Xiaoyu explained. Oh. Ling Ruoshu understood. The main reason was that the level of this space was too low, so Sun Tao could abuse them, but they couldn't kill Sun Tao. Alas. This was really depressing. Little Shuer, if you want to kill Sun Tao, you can only level up quickly. Ling Qianye said with a smile. What level is the cheap old ancestor now? Ling Ruoshue was very curious. I'm now an intermediate advanced god, Ling Xiaoyu said with a smile. Little Shuer, actually, Sun Tao, Qianyi, and my 2 brothers are no longer from this world. By the way, there's empty beside you. He's not either, Ling Xiaoyu explained with a faint smile as she looked at the question marks on everyone's faces. Then why did you guys return to the boundless heaven continent? Ling Ruoshue was somewhat puzzled. This is our hometown. We can return as long as we pay enough crystals, Ling Xiaoyu said. However, after we return, we can only suppress our strength at the mystic supremacy level and can only use mystic power. Otherwise, the heaven-earth law won't allow us to exist, Ling Xiaoyu added. Even so, you don't have any opponents in the boundless heaven continent either, right? Ling Ruoshue guessed. Yes, the mystic power we can use is unimaginable for other mystic supremacies. If we have a divine artifact, we will be even more powerful and unstoppable. More importantly, no one in this world can kill us. Little Shuer, you will understand what I mean when you reach that world, Ling Xiaoyu said honestly. The strength of their bodies now was no longer in the realm of humans. Lass, we really can't kill that Sun Tao now. Feng Zhan, who'd remained silent all along, echoed as well. Because of the restrictions of the spatial realm and the rules of the world in this world, they were unable to bring forth their full strength. Otherwise, if it was in the past, how could they have tolerated Sun Tao showing off in front of them? He would have been annihilated by them a long time ago. Yes, it's okay. There will always be a chance in the future. Moreover, didn't the cheap old ancestor say so? Sun Tao won't dare to come for a while, so we have to cultivate hard and strive to advance as soon as possible to kill Sun Tao in the higher realm, Ling Ruoshue said confidently. Chapter 843, Azure Dragon Mountain, 3, yes, yes. Everyone nodded hurriedly. Little Shuer, the Sun family is gone now. Can you return to the Ling family with me? My 2 brothers still want to see you. Ling Xiaoyu discussed. I don't know them, I'm not interested in meeting them, Ling Ruoshue said without giving him any face. She didn't have time to socialize with the Ling family now. After several battles, she could already vaguely feel that the heaven-defying art had signs of advancing. In addition to the potential threat of Sun Tao, that big worry in her heart, she wanted to find a place to cultivate for a while. Of course, it was best if she could advance directly. Ah. Ling Xiaoyu was depressed. Boo-hoo. This girl didn't even give him face. Little Shuer, where do you plan to go? Bring me along. Ling Qianye said with anticipation, his dark eyes blinking non-stop. We plan to enter seclusion to cultivate. Are you going? Ling Ruoshue looked at Ling Qianye with a smile. Ah. Forget it then. However, I can provide you with a place if you cultivate, Ling Qianye said mysteriously. Forget it if it's the Ling family, Ling Ruoshue said nonchalantly. In fact, she was very clear about what Ling Qianye was planning, but she really didn't want to have too much to do with the Ling family. After all, she had killed many people in the Ling family, so she didn't want to embarrass herself. Ah. Ling Qianye was also depressed. How could this little girl guess so accurately? He wanted little Schwer to cultivate in the Leng family's forbidden area, but this little girl blocked them with a single sentence. Boo-hoo. She was really too much of a bully. Thinking of this, he couldn't help sneaking glances at Leng Ruoxue resentfully. Don't look at me with such a gaze. I'm a person who differentiates gratitude and grudges. I'm also good to whoever is good to me. If anyone hates me, I won't use my hot face to stick to other people's cold buttocks, so the Leng family isn't suitable for me, Leng Ruoxue said bluntly. She knew that not many people in the Leng family welcomed them except for this pair of grandfather and granddaughter, and she didn't want to have too much involvement with the Leng family. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Then where do you plan to go? Ling Xiaoyu asked helplessly. I don't know. Maybe you'll find a deserted mountain, Leng Ruoxue said casually. Oh, then go ahead. Call me if you need me. Leng Xiaoyu took out a jade tablet and handed it to Leng Ruoxue. Okay. Leng Ruoxue accepted the jade tablet, then bid farewell to the two of them and left Sunzhou City with everyone. Grandpa, we're letting little Schwer leave just like that? Leng Qianye said indignantly after Leng Ruoxue and the others left. Boo-hoo. Little Schwer actually abandoned him again. What else? Do you really plan to go into seclusion with them? Leng Xiaoyu asked. I don't want to. Leng Qianye said with a bitter face. In fact, what he didn't say was that he was afraid that little Schwer would fool him. Little Schwer was obviously despising him. Boo-hoo. He was so sad. Don't think too much. That girl really wants to enter seclusion to cultivate. How could Leng Xiaoyu not understand her grandson's thoughts? She comforted him. Yes, Grandpa. Where are we going? Leng Qianye couldn't help but ask. He didn't want to return to the Leng family now. To the Leng family, of course, Leng Xiaoyu said matter-of-factly. Oh. Leng Qianye was very unwilling. I'll go back. Help yourself, Leng Xiaoyu said again. Ah. Grandpa, why didn't you say so earlier? Leng Qianye complained. What did you say earlier? You're not a child anymore. Why are you following behind Grandpa all day? Leng Xiaoyu said disdainfully. With that, she directly teleported and disappeared. Boo-hoo. Grandpa despises him too, Leng Qianye couldn't help but mutter to himself. Then, he flashed and disappeared from the spot. After Leng Ruoxue and the others left Sunzhou City, she instructed the little peacock to find a secluded place to cultivate and advance. A day later. The little peacock found a tall and straight mountain peak 10,000 meters away from Sunzhou City. That mountain peak towered into the clouds and was majestic and imposing. However, it didn't look like a barren mountain at all. Little peacock, you brought us to the wrong place. Fengde looked at the tall mountain with lush leaves and asked in puzzlement. This is the best place nearby. There won't be many people who dare to come even though it's not a barren mountain, the little peacock explained. Why is that? Fengde and the others were puzzled. Because there are bandits in this mountain, the little old man said. Bandits? Hee hee. Bandits are good. I like them. Fengde smiled happily when he heard there were bandits. The bandits here aren't those from the dirty river. The bandits here are all organized. Those below Mystic Sovereign don't dare to come here, the little old man explained. Could this be the Azure Dragon Mountain? Cheng Wu asked carefully. He had heard of the famous Azure Dragon Mountain. It was a famous bandit's den. It was even more fierce and unreasonable than the original 5 major forces in Myriad Mountain City. Yes. The little old man nodded. How are the bandits here compared to Myriad Mountain City? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. Although she had been in the Boundless Heaven continent for several years, she really didn't know much about some forces on the continent, especially those forces she didn't have the chance to come into contact with. Lass, there's no way to compare. The bandits here are organized and disciplined. They can be considered professional bandits. Even though Myriad Mountain City is chaotic, bandits are nothing, the little old man said. Ah! Professional robber. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. Bandits had become professions. Impressive. Hee. Lass, even though there's only one bandit's nest in the Azure Dragon Mountain, there are many people and they are powerful. Moreover, the specialty of the Azure Dragon Mountain bandits is that as long as you enter the inner circle of the Azure Dragon Mountain, you have to let them rob you. Unless your strength is above theirs, their words are heaven. However, if you wander around the outer circle, you just have to give them a fixed entrance fee. That way, they won't rob you, the little old man said with a smile. Unless one was a true peerless expert, no one dared to enter the inner circle. Oh. Then these bandits are quite particular, Leng Ruoxue said with some amusement. Chapter 844, Azure Dragon Mountain, 4, There's no choice. If not for that, they would have been jointly eliminated by the various large factions long ago. And it's said that there's a reason for such a rule, the little old man kept everyone in suspense and said. What reason? Sure enough, Fengde and the others were all curious. Because of the resources of Azure Dragon Mountain. Lass, you should know that there are countless natural treasures in high mountains, forests, and other places, right? The little old man asked Leng Ruoxue. Yes, heavenly treasures like such places as long as the conditions for growth are suitable, Leng Ruoxue agreed. There are many natural treasures in the inner circle of this Azure Dragon Mountain, and it once made the various major forces envious. Legend has it that a long time ago, the Azure Dragon Mountain was occupied by a peerless expert, and those forces that coveted the resources of the Azure Dragon Mountain were fiercely taught a lesson by that peerless expert, and he asked them to swear that they would never invade the Azure Dragon Mountain. Of course, that expert also agreed to let them enter the Azure Dragon Mountain to search for treasures and explore. However, they have to follow the rules of the Azure Dragon Mountain. As for the bandits in the Azure Dragon Mountain now, they should be the subordinates and descendants of that expert at that time. For tens of thousands of years, they have been slowly developing and growing with the Azure Dragon Mountain as their back. However, they rarely leave the Azure Dragon Mountain. The little old man slowly explained the history of the Azure Dragon Mountain. This legend has been around for a few years. Even though it's impossible to verify its authenticity, from the various factions' attitude towards Azure Dragon Mountain, it should be true, the little old man added. Since that expert is so powerful, why did he agree to let them enter Azure Dragon Mountain after teaching the various major factions a lesson? Lu Tao could not help asking. Hee. Lu Tao is inexperienced, so she naturally doesn't understand the twists and turns between the forces. That powerhouse might be very powerful, but if he doesn't have a descendant who's as powerful as him, when he leaves this world, his descendant will similarly be unable to protect the resources of Azure Dragon Mountain. Instead, there will be a disaster. Therefore, after he taught the various major forces a lesson and made them swear an oath, he naturally has to give them some benefits. Otherwise, let those forces bear a grudge in their hearts. In the future, how can his descendants and subordinates walk on the boundless heaven continent? They can't always not leave Azure Dragon Mountain, right? If one day, Azure Dragon Mountain's resources are exhausted, won't his descendants and subordinates starve to death? The little old man explained with a chuckle. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. However, after so many years, the resources in the Azure Dragon Mountain have long been inferior to before, so the various major forces are not as interested in the Azure Dragon Mountain as before, the little old man said. Oh, Grandpa Du, how many entrances are there in this Azure Dragon Mountain? Leng Ruoxue asked. One can only enter from there, the little old man said with a smile. Then let's go in. Let's find a place with fewer people in the inner circle to focus on seclusion, Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. Hee. Lass, you have to be careful of the bandits on the Azure Dragon Mountain when you enter the inner circle. If you encounter bandits in the inner circle, they will rob you until you only have your underwear left, the little old man reminded. Oh. They still have some humanity. At least they didn't let others be naked, Leng Ruoxue praised. If she was a robber here, she would make the person robbed lose even their underwear. Ah. Hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, everyone couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Little peacock, land. Let's go in, Leng Ruoxue ordered, ignoring everyone's expressions. Yes, Mississippi. The little peacock obediently descended from the sky. It landed at the entrance of Azure Dragon Mountain. Leng Ruoxue and the others jumped down from the little peacock's back. The two guards sitting at the entrance of Azure Dragon Mountain raised their eyes and looked at them before continuing what they were doing. We are going into the mountain. Leng Ruoxue said bluntly after seeing the two guards' reactions. 10 amethyst coins per person, including beasts. A guard said lightly. What? Beasts also need money? Fengde said in disbelief. These people were indeed bandits. They actually earned the money of beasts. He felt that he had been to many cities, but he had never seen a city that accepted beast fees. We can choose not to hand over the beast, but we can't use it in the mountain either, a guard explained. Oh. This is 2,000 amethyst coins to buy 200 spots. Leng Ruoxue generously took out 2,000 amethyst coins and handed it to the guard at the door. This is the first time I've seen you so generous as to enter the mountain. Seeing that you're so straightforward, I'll make the decision to give you an additional 20 spots, the guard said very generously and handed Leng Ruoxue a card. At the same time, that was the proof of their fee. Thank you. Leng Ruoxue smiled. The entrance fee here was nothing compared to Shadow City. After speaking, Leng Ruoxue led everyone into Azure Dragon Mountain. Chapter 845, Different Treatment by a Bandit. 1. In the Azure Dragon Mountain, the mountain was tall and steep, and the hill was covered in green trees. Even though there were dense giant trees planted everywhere, the temperature in the mountain was still lower than outside. After Leng Ruoxue walked into the Azure Dragon Mountain, the first thing she entered was the periphery. On the periphery, their group also met a few teams. Some were friendly, and some treated them as opponents. After all, the resources on the periphery were limited. Miss, why did we come to such a place that requires money if we were going into seclusion? Lu Tao asked in puzzlement. Her heart ached when she thought of the 2,000 amethyst coins. You have to spend money to make money. Even though we spent 2,000 amethyst coins, it's not impossible to earn it back here. So, closed-door cultivation is one thing, but also, we can train in this mountain, why not? Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Ha! Lass, you're right. As long as we're lucky, we can definitely earn back 2,000 amethyst coins. However, it's impossible for us to do it outside. The little old man smiled in agreement. On their way here, they had encountered some herbs. Even though they were only ordinary herbs, they couldn't be let go. After all, those herbs were still useful and could be used as supplementary ingredients for other pills. If he wanted to encounter treasures of the heaven and earth level, he had to enter the inner circle besides luck. Miss, are we still going in today? Fengde looked at the sky and asked. Let's not go in. Let's camp outside today. Leng Ruoxue said after looking around. Okay. Fengde answered. Then, everyone divided the work very tacitly, setting up tents, starting a fire, and cooking. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Leng Ruoxue and the others had just eaten when another group of people arrived. After the group arrived, they patrolled the surroundings. Then, a young man walked in front of Leng Ruoxue and the others. Hello, everyone. This place is very big. We want to camp here. May I know if that's possible? The young man was very polite and looked like the leader of this group. The place Leng Ruoxue and the others were at now was very spacious and was definitely the best venue for camping, so it was normal to attract others. Sure. Leng Ruoxue nodded. This wasn't their home. However, since they were willing to ask, it meant that these people were still very particular. She naturally wouldn't hold on to this place and not let go. Thank you, the young man said gratefully. His handsome face was still full of amazement. However, after thanking him, he turned around and returned to his team. Then, he arranged for someone to set up a tent, start a fire, and cook. Soon, another team walked over from a small road. They obviously liked the terrain here. The leader casually looked at the two teams present and directly ordered his subordinates to set up the tents. Uncle Chi, why is there someone else here? A sharp female voice questioned with dissatisfaction. Miss, the terrain here is the best. Let's make do with it, the middle-aged man called Uncle Chi said helplessly. This eldest miss was so willful that he was about to go crazy. This was not the family, so he could let her do whatever she wanted. Hopefully, she would be sensible and not cause any trouble. Uncle Chi, I'm the eldest daughter of the Chi family. How can you let me make do? Chi Hunger was instantly angry when she heard this. She had always been able to call the wind and summon the rain in the family. She could have whatever she wanted. Who dared to let her make do? Miss, this isn't the Chi family, Uncle Chi reminded her. I don't care. Drive them away. There can't be anyone else where I live, Chi Hunger said barbarically. Miss, this isn't a place for you to throw a tantrum, Uncle Chi said impatiently. He ignored this unruly eldest daughter and turned to busy himself. Go chase them away. Chi Hunger pointed at a subordinate. The subordinate looked at Chi Hunger and then looked at the middle-aged man called Uncle Chi. He said with some difficulty, Miss, I came first. There are rules to walk on the continent. We can't do this. How dare you disobey my orders? I don't care. Hurry up and chase them away. Chi Hunger roared at the top of her lungs, her beautiful face a little deformed. Chi Tong, come here, Uncle Chi shouted. Miss, Uncle Chi is calling for me, the subordinate named Chi Tong said hurriedly and walked towards Uncle Chi. Damn it, how dare you disobey my orders? Humph. I must tell father to punish you. Chi Hunger threatened angrily. With that, she angrily came in front of the young man and said arrogantly, I like this place. Please leave. On what basis? Before the young man could say anything, a middle-aged man in his team spoke first with dissatisfaction. Because I'm the eldest daughter of the Chi family and the future mistress of the Leng family, Chi Hunger said proudly, her beautiful face full of arrogance. You're the eldest daughter of the Chi family? The young man looked up and asked lightly. Yes, my name is Chi Hunger. I'm the most favored daughter of the Chi family's patriarch and the future young madam of the Leng family. Chi Hunger's proud tail was about to curl up. Since you're the eldest daughter of the Chi family, didn't the patriarch of the Chi family teach you the rules? The young man asked with a light smile, the disdain in his eyes flashing for a moment. Damn it, do you know who you are talking to? Chi Hunger was not stupid. Of course, she could hear the sarcasm in the young man's words. Therefore, she was instantly like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She was angry. Of course I know. However, I know even more that the strong are respected in this world. Therefore, even if you are the Chi family's patriarch's most favored daughter, the Leng family's young patriarch's future wife, you have to follow the rules of the boundless heaven continent, the young man said calmly. The young man knew very well that the Chi family and the Leng family were in-laws. However, if they thought that he should bow down to them and be humble because of the Leng family, that would be a huge mistake. After all, the master behind him was not to be trifled with, and he naturally could not lose his master's face. This was what the elders of the family had warned repeatedly before he left home. Chapter 846, Different Treatment by a Bandit, 2, You. You will regret it. State your name if you have the guts, Chi Hunger roared with a red face and neck. Luo Lin, the young man said softly. You are from the Luo clan. Very good, I won't let your Luo clan off, Chi Hunger said fiercely. Are you sure? Don't do anything you regret, Luo Lin reminded coldly. Humph. Just you wait, Luo clan. Qi Hunger turned around and left angrily after leaving those vicious words. After losing all her face at Luo Lin's place, Qi Hunger was unwilling to give up and came directly to Leng Ruoxue and the others, wanting to recover some face. Leave this place immediately, Qi Hunger ordered loudly. Idiot, Lu Tao spat and said disdainfully. The others didn't even look up. You guys. I'm the eldest miss of the Qi family, the future mistress of the Leng family. Qi Hunger roared angrily. So what? Even if you are the eldest daughter of the Leng family, you have to scram, Lu Tao said impatiently. You. Damn it. Report your name if you have the guts. Qi Hunger was so angry that she stuttered. You don't deserve to know. Lu Tao ignored her. You, Qi Hunger pointed at Lu Tao, trembling with anger. You what you? Get lost. Feng Dehai roared. Damn woman, how dare she point at his woman. She was really tired of living. Just you wait. Qi Hunger was so angry that her face turned green. After similarly throwing out fierce words, she reluctantly returned to her team. The world is really big. There are all sorts of women. These young ladies from aristocratic families are really too annoying, Feng De said with a face full of disdain. Ha! There are too many daughters of such families, so we have to be calm. It will lower our status to argue with them, Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. In her opinion, this was just a clown who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, purely for them to relieve their boredom. Yes, yes. Don't be calculative with her. If you don't like it, just crack it directly, Feng De said with a smile. Ah. Hearing Feng Da's words, 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Leng Ruoxue's forehead. She thought in her heart, her subordinates were really becoming more and more violent. After dinner, Chen Wu and Song Di stayed behind to guard the night, while the others entered the tent early to rest. The next morning, after Leng Ruoxue and the others left the tent, they made breakfast and continued on their way after eating. Miss, those 2 teams are behind us, Chen Wu reminded softly. Yes, they should also be going to the inner circle, Leng Ruoxue said understandingly. There were not many roads to the inner circle, but the road they were taking was the most spacious and easiest, so it was normal for the 2 teams to walk. Uncle Qi, how far are we? Miss, we'll be there soon. Let's rest after entering the inner circle. Soon, the Qi family's eldest miss and Uncle Qi's voices entered Leng Ruoxue and the others' ears. Obviously, the 2 teams were very close. After walking for nearly half a day, all 3 teams entered the inner circle. Be it beasts or herbs in the inner circle, their levels were higher than those in the outer circle. However, the dense trees made their journey difficult. Feng De waved the saber in his hand and kept slashing at the branches and vines that blocked their path. He led the way while Leng Ruoxue and the others followed closely behind him. Not only that, the other 2 teams actually followed them. Miss, let's camp here, Feng De said after walking to a relatively spacious place. Leng Ruoxue nodded, then Feng De and the others began to set up the tent. Wait, we like this place. Go somewhere else. Qi Hunger's domineering voice sounded in Leng Ruoxue and the others' ears again. Leng Ruoxue and the others looked up at Qi Hunger with spurious smiles. Did you hear me? Leave this place quickly. We like this place. Qi Hunger felt her hair stand on end from Leng Ruoxue and the others' gazes and couldn't help but roar. Miss Qi, is it? Do you think this Azure Dragon Mountain belongs to the Qi family too? Didn't your father tell you not to cause trouble outside and to listen to your Uncle Qi? Leng Ruoxue raised her eyebrows slightly, her tone very cold. How dare you talk to me like that? The Leng family and the Qi family won't let you go. Qi Hunger felt that her authority had been provoked, so she took advantage of the situation and roared, her eyes flashing with jealousy. The Leng family and the Qi family? If I tell you that the Qi family is like an ant in my eyes, I won't be afraid of the Leng family either. Would you believe me? Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Humph. The Qi family is one of the 3 major families. Who would believe that you're not afraid? Qi Hunger didn't take Leng Ruoxue's words seriously. Ha! The Leng family is nothing. We killed all the elders of the Leng family, Chen Wu said with a maniacal laugh. Keep bragging. If these words reach the Leng family, you're dead meat, Qi Hunger suddenly said excitedly. Ha! She really hoped that the Leng family would know. That way, this thorn would be dead meat. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue had already been treated as a thorn in Qi Hunger's side because Leng Ruoxue's beauty that could topple kingdoms was really too dazzling, making her very displeased. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint Miss Qi. I've killed many people from the Leng family and am still alive and well. As for you, it's probably impossible to marry into the Leng family in this lifetime, Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. What did you say? I'm the Leng family's designated daughter-in-law. Qi Hunger jumped 3 times in anger when she heard Leng Ruoxue say that it was impossible for her to marry into the Leng family. Who decided? Are you worthy? Leng Ruoxue mocked. If what Qi Hunger said was true, then she could only say that the Leng family's standards were too poor. That's right. In the boundless heaven continent, there are too many women who call themselves the Leng family's future young madam. But I've never seen the Leng family acknowledge anyone either. Fengde echoed, his face still full of disdain. You. Just you wait. I won't let you go, Qi Hunger threatened. She was really angry. These people actually dared to humiliate her like this. Chapter 847, Different Treatment by a Bandit. 3. Miss, don't be willful. Apologize to this miss quickly, Uncle Qi suddenly said. At the same time, his shrewd eyes sized up Leng Ruoxue and the others, thinking about the truth of what they had said. If what these people said was true, then they had to be careful. However, what if what they said was false? Uncle Qi was deep in thought. However, he decided to get along with Leng Ruoxue and the others first. Unfortunately, he had underestimated Qi Hunger's jealousy of Leng Ruoxue. On what basis? As expected, Qi Hunger became even angrier when she heard Uncle Qi's words. Why not? Apologize quickly, Uncle Qi said without negotiation. Who do you think you are? You're just a dog of our Qi family. How dare you order me around? Qi Hunger roared furiously. Miss, don't forget what the patriarch said, Uncle Qi reminded her while suppressing his anger. He was becoming more and more impatient with Qi Hunger. He knew that this eldest miss, who was loved and doted on, didn't care about anyone except her father and the young master of the Leng family. However, he didn't expect Qi Hunger to actually say that he was the dog of the Qi family in front of so many people. This couldn't help making his face turn red and white. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others couldn't be bothered to watch the master and servant's antithesis. They directly set up the tent. Miss, should we? Chen Wu came to Leng Ruoxue's side and made a throat-slitting gesture. There's no need. Leng Ruoxue smiled evilly. These Qi family members should be left to be taught a lesson. After speaking, Leng Ruoxue pulled the freak to a clean place and sat down. Shuer, why did you become so kind today? The freak smiled and Leng Shuer pulled her into her arms. When have I not been kind? Leng Ruoxue pouted and pretended to be unhappy. Yes, Shuer is always kind, the freak coaxed, the smile on his lips deepening. Shuer is planning to use someone else to kill him. How is she kind? Empty said understandingly and sat down beside the two of them as a light bulb. Empty. We should tacitly understand this kind of thing. There's no need to say it, Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Yes, I was wrong. Empty cooperated. Fengde and the others set up the tent and started making lunch. After Luo Lin exchanged greetings with Leng Ruoxue and the others, he arranged for someone to set up a tent. After Uncle Chi mentioned the patriarch, Chi Hunger became more well-behaved and stopped fighting with Uncle Chi. Their subordinates also began to busy themselves. Soon, Feng De and the others were done with their meal. However, before they could start eating, they heard a lion roar in their ears. "Don't move. Robbery." After hearing this, the three teams stopped what they were doing at the same time and looked up at the source of the voice. They saw a group of black-clothed people standing not far away from them, staring at them covetously. There were a few hundred black-clothed people not far away, and most of them were mystic sovereigns. Luo Lin and Uncle Chi's teams couldn't help but laugh bitterly when they saw the lineup of bandits. What they were afraid of really came true. They didn't expect to encounter bandits so quickly. Alas! Their luck was really too bad. However, Len Ruoxue and the others' eyes lit up when they saw these bandits, and their hearts were filled with anticipation. Oh! These bandits were quite strong, but they didn't know if they could withstand a beating. "How dare you? Do you know who I am? How dare you rob us?" After Chi Hunger saw those bandits, she vented all the depression in her heart on the bandits who appeared out of nowhere. "Miss, shut up." Uncle Chi couldn't help but scold before the bandits could say anything, and he was even more depressed. What an idiot. Were these bandits easy to deal with? They weren't even more honest in their territory. Who you are is not important to us. Unless you can defeat us, you can only cooperate. Now hand over your valuables. "I won't kill you as long as you are obedient," the bandit leader said very kindly. On what basis? Chi Hunger was furious. These bandits were too arrogant. They even dared to rob her. "Miss Chi, on the basis that we are bandits. Since you've come to the Azure Dragon Mountain, of course you have to follow our rules. Didn't your father hand you over?" the bandit boss explained with a good temper. "How dare you rob me when you know I'm the eldest miss of the Chi family?" Chi Hunger said in disbelief. "Who does the eldest daughter of the Chi family think she is? We will beat her up even if the patriarch of the Leng family comes," the bandit leader said nonchalantly. "How dare you?" Chi Hunger roared. Unfortunately, her roar was ignored by the bandit leader. "Uncle Chi, right? What do you think?" The bandit leader turned his gaze to Uncle Chi and asked with a smile. "Everyone, please accept it." Uncle Chi took the ring on his hand and handed it over. "Yes, very good. You're still the sensible one." After complimenting Uncle Chi, he turned his gaze to the others in the Chi family. The Chi family had no choice but to take off their rings and hand them over. "That's right, you're all very obedient." The bandit leader moved all the valuables in the ring into his own ring, then returned the rings of Uncle Chi and the others and said, "I'll return the rings to you. Even though I robbed you, you can still continue to explore and search for treasures here. Oh. By the way, I'll remind you that we don't only have one team to rob, so you have to be careful. Our purpose is to not resist and cooperate obediently so that we won't lose our lives," the bandit leader added. After Uncle Chi and the others heard the bandit leader's words, the corners of their mouths couldn't help twitching. Damn! There was actually more than one robbery team. Moreover, from the bandits' words, they might even encounter a robbery. Thinking of this, Uncle Chi and the others were all depressed. "Miss Chi, it's your turn now." The bandit leader didn't forget that Miss Chi didn't cooperate well. "I don't have anything valuable," Chi Hunger roared. "Oh. Then leave your life behind," the bandit leader said without any pity for the fairer sex. "How dare you?" Chi Hunger was a little afraid, but she didn't believe that these bandits would really dare to kill her. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.